Shalom, everybody. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Aman. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate the King and Queen of each and every one of you. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Shalom. Ana Kofi. Mashalom Khe. Ni hao. Namaste. Ohio. Messiah, I see you. Welcome, everybody. We appreciate your presence on today. Looks like TikTok is doing its thing again to have it to where it's not sending any notifications. That's all right, I guess. We'll see how long that lasts. We might have to stop it and start it and stop it and start it and stop it and start it, whatever. But we're appreciative of you guys being on with us one more again. Thank you for spending some time with us. We're excited to be with you again. Let me see if I can put this a little bit better. But we're thankful to everybody for coming on. We appreciate you. Bakwartav, Ayana Kofi, Barak Allah Cham Yahava, Shalom, Allah Acham Yahava, Ayana Kofi, at Servants of Christ, Mashalam Khe. Hello, I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. And thank you for being on one more again. We appreciate you so very much. Looks like we're going to have to try and start and restart TikTok again. Let's see how many times they make us do this today. For some reason, don't like us over here, but that's okay. See if I get rid of hashtag Find Kofi. I thought it was because we put in Straw Man yesterday. Maybe it's because they don't like hashtag Find Kofi anymore. Let's see if they allow us to come on in this time. But anyways, we're thankful to you guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for spending some time with us. We once again give all praise and honor to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're appreciative of having everybody on with us today on this rising, getting closer to the placement of the new moon. And once we get there, we're going to begin to I believe our Shabbat, our Sabbath is going to be on Fridays, I believe. We're continuing our intermittent fasting, so hopefully that's going well for everybody wherever you might be. We're appreciative of you for hanging in there, being diligent. Let's see if I switch to Wi-Fi, maybe TikTok we'll be allowed to be able to go through there. Let me see. Sorry, I got to put the password in. They are really working us on this thing, but that's all right. Praise Yah for the adversity. Amen. We got to live what we speak. So let's see if that makes things a little better. We'll find out soon. But we're appreciative, we're thankful and grateful for everybody coming today on this rising. Looks like the people are making a concerted effort to stop this word from going forth, but we're going to continue to do what we're supposed to do no matter what. And we're appreciative to the Most High for Him giving us an opportunity and showing His love and His grace upon us. So today, as we wait for everybody else to kind of join in, we are staying in our fasting series. Hey, Sister Nay. Okay, there we go. We finally got one person on TikTok. Praise Yah. Yeah, we got one person on. Okay, cool. So maybe that means that will come shortly. But we're thankful and grateful for you guys being on today. We appreciate you. We're going to talk today, continue and talk about fasting. And once again, please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And today we're going to talk about fasting again, but today we're going to talk about fasting from Rome. How you doing, Brother Vincent? It's Kofi _43. Yeah, for whatever reason, they're making it where we can't get on. How you doing, babe? My wife is on. Okay, Sister Sharice is on. Cool. Look, the family's coming on. And hopefully you're doing well, Sister Sharice. I was actually praying for you the other day. I'm going to try and reach out to you at some point. I think I got some stuff that might help My wife and I, we were thinking about some things, some stuff that might help as far as some healing things. I'm gonna leave it there because I won't put all your business out there, but appreciate you. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about fasting from Rome. And we talk a lot about Rome, but it's important we talk about a lot of Rome because things are romanticized. And as things continue to be romanticized, we miss the point of a lot of things that are going on. Right? Things that are going on in Ukraine, if you do some research, we're really just dealing with romantic values. Things that are going on in the United States corporation, we're just dealing with romantic values. Things that are going on in Swiss, we're just dealing with romantic values. We're dealing with romanticism. And as things are romanticized, as people to continue to romanticize these things, as people continue to say, hey, we're going to make this more and more and more Roman. That's what we're dealing with. Even the controlling of stuff on social media, whatever. We're just dealing with Roman antics. Right? When you figure that part out, that you're really just dealing with Roman antics, you start to have less frustration when this stuff happens. Hey, how you doing, Sister Saul? We're slowly getting a couple people on TikTok. They have to find this out. So it's very apparent TikTok what they're doing at this point. I don't know how you go from 43,000, which is like the most we ever had a matter of days ago, right? You get 43,000 people on. We have 1,000 people here, 1,000 people there, and then TikTok basically just, pulls it down. So it's very apparent what's going on, but we give honor to the Most High. That means that the Prince of the Air is upset with what we're doing. Hallelujah. And we're going to keep going ahead and heaping hot coals upon the system's head. Right? So we praise y'all for you guys for being on and being diligent, even when TikTok's trying its best to do whatever they do. Right? So when we talk about this, when we are honest about this, when we realize what's going on with romanticism, we have to make sure that we are attentive, that we are careful, that we are not so oblivious to Rome and what's going on. If I might start in a place that we don't spend a whole lot of time in, but if I might go to a certain place first to kind of get things started. And thank you for any likes, shares, any donations, anything like that anybody gives. How you doing, her? If I might go to a place in Rome, or a place that we don't go to as far as what we're still dealing with romantic values, Roman antics, Roman antics. One of the places that we could easily go to see what's going on as far as what's going on in Rome is simple. One of the things that we can look at as far as what's going on in Rome is simple. What do I mean by that? Gangs, the streets. A lot of us don't think about gangs as being Roman, but if you would talk mafioso, right? You'd talk about Rome. You got to talk about Italy. How you doing, Miss Pierce? Right? Italiano. Now, somebody says, oh, no, that doesn't make sense. But we don't know that gangs, what we now call gangs, and now what we look down upon as gangs, were something that if you were in the Roman courts or if you were in the Roman Senate, senators made deals with people on the streets. A lot of people might not be aware of that, but see, senators, they made deals with people on the street. So, how you doing, Doll? I am. So if senators made deals with people on the street, what you got to recognize and realize is that those who are Roman elite, they would make sure that they walked around with gang members. Yeah, I figured they're not showing it as live. It's okay though, right? But see, senators, they may deals with people that were on the street. You have to click on the picture. Well, there you go. See, but that's okay though, right? We're still gonna do what we do. And how you doing, Miss Mac? And I did text you back yesterday. I know I didn't reach out yesterday. Yesterday ended up being wild, but I am gonna reach out to you, Miss Mac. I apologize. Right? And how you doing, Minister Nice? You had to search for it too. Yeah. So it is what it is. I guess I'll have to, I don't know, I'll have to email TikTok or TikTok legal or something to figure out why they decided that they need to go ahead and black us out. Right. But nevertheless, maybe I'll make a video to let everybody know so they know that they have to look for us. But basically, you have to ask yourself, or you have to realize that the gang warfare that you guys think about is nothing more than government government battles. Senators in Rome used to hire people. They really wouldn't even hire them. They would stir up a crowd. They get them to vote on something. They give speeches, and they give speeches that would stir up the crowd, the people that weren't the elites. Hey, how you doing, Sister Raina? Thanks for finding us. And so they put together things that would stir up the elites. How you doing, Sister Deborah? And as the elites got stirred up, right? As the elites got stirred up, the people rather, then people would go to the streets, and they were ready to kill on behalf of the problems that the elites told them existed, and they would try to kill off any other rival gang or even any other senator that was supposedly trying to mess with their family, because that's what it's all about, supposedly. Same thing that happens now with your voting. How you doing, Brother Alton? Same thing that happens with your voting. Right? The same thing that happens with your voting nowadays, right? How you doing, Dre? The elites stir you up so that you'll fight one another, and every once in a while they'll stand in the middle of a fight. That's very romantic. You call it gang warfare unless you're involved, or unless your Republican Party, Democratic Party, etc. is involved. And I'm sorry for, I guess they're doing some kind of cleaning here with the leaves. I didn't know they were doing this, or I would have chosen this spot. So sorry for the excess noise, but hopefully you can still hear me okay. If I need to start raising my voice, I shall. But that's what we're dealing with, is the elite. How you doing, Iska? Did I say that right? Uh-oh. Yeah, Iska of Yisrael, Iska of Israel. Iska. So you're dealing with a very romantic thing when you talk about gangs, gang warfare, the CIA, informants for police, informants for the FBI, informants for the CIA. You're dealing with gang warfare where the elites control the narrative. Now, once again, what is a narrative? A narrative is anything, or an ideal, rather, IDEAL. An ideal is anything that somebody's making up to support their narrative. Not to support a fact, but to support a narrative. You got the people who say, go to Ukraine and kill them, or the people who say, go to Russia and kill them, is because somebody created an ideal, and they made stuff to support their narrative. I earned a medal, right? As pretty much did everybody when they just simply joined the military at a certain time. But I earned a medal called the Iraqi Freedom Medal. I earned it just because I made it through boot camp. Or not even because I made it through boot camp. Sorry, they actually started giving it to people who made it through boot camp after I came out. But when I was in, everybody was in the military. Everybody was allowed to have a medal, at least one medal, if you didn't have one already. Yeah, it's a controlled storyline. And what was that? Everybody was so proud to carry this medal. Why? Because I had a medal that said that, even though I hadn't gone to Iraq yet, but I had a medal that said that I was part of the Iraqi freedom movement to free Iraq. Is Iraq free, by the way? Or are the people that are in control still supporting a narrative? And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to make it through. It's a little disheartening to start like that all the time, but we're going to make it through, right? And grand rising to you, right? See, and how you doing, Big Brother Thomas? So just to let y'all know, as you were coming on, apparently this has happened, 2 days in a row? Well, 3 days in a row, 2 days heavy, that we start off on TikTok and nobody can find us. So you guys are on TikTok. So just to let you guys know, I might even try. I can't promise, but at least by 8. But I'll try even by like 7:45, 7:50. I'll see if I can be on here on TikTok. Maybe just even let the environment, the background be on, or maybe I'll start a little bit of stuff or give some announcements then and things like that. But yeah, TikTok is making it, trying their best to like make sure that nobody can come on, at least for the beginning of this. So if you can come on, if you're coming on TikTok, and just simply, even if you're on YouTube, if you don't mind, maybe go to TikTok first when we start from now on, and then just come back on to YouTube. And that way people will start getting the message. But I appreciate y'all for coming on. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your support for what we're doing here at SOC, right? But let's continue to go through this, right? So if you're not careful, what begins to happen, and thank you for being part of the community, is that NOP3, I don't know if it's nope, not DY, and R run around, right? The background doesn't work now. I did have to I did try to go through. So I think the reason, I don't know. I think the reason is because they want people to start using mobile gaming part to be able to do background. And so you can share your screen. So I did apply for it, but you have to apply for the mobile gaming thing first. And I know you have to have at least 18,000 followers or subscribers or whatever you call them. So hopefully that'll work some to where I can be able to talk, and then whatever I want to show you guys, I just have to share my screen, which I was prepared to do today, but I forgot that you do have to apply for it. So I did apply for it on this channel. I applied for it on Kofi_42 this evening, and prayerfully I will be able to start showing pictures again. If not, I'm gonna have to find a way to start, printing out some big size pictures or something so I can hold them from time to time for you guys. But anyways, so we're talking about romantic, or I'm sorry, fasting. This is a fasting series we want to talk about today during this time of fasting, intermittent fasting we're going through Thursday evening. We're talking about fasting from Rome. Remember, whenever you fast, you should fast and you should have something specific, right? You should fast and have something in mind specific when you're fasting. How you doing, Not Just Enterprises? Thanks for being on. So you need to fast with a specific mindset. And I want you to start fasting from Rome, right? Once again, Rome is the beginning of what you call these modern gangs. And the gangs are used by those that are in power. How you doing? It's over now. Right? Right. So gangs are used to be able to continue romantic values. That's how it worked. So you would have the Senate in Rome, and the Senate once again would give a speech, and they would stir up the people so that the people who voted, which really had no power because only the senators vote had power. Remember, we were talking about last night. Remember your straw man, right? Remember, we were talking about that last night, to remember your straw man, right? And amen, Sister Deborah. Thank you. So we were talking about that last night. Remember your straw man. And when you remember your straw man, remember that your straw man was made up so that you will grow up to believe that you are a fictitious person in all caps rather than a real person, right? So you believe that your vote matters because you think that your straw man matters, but your straw man only matters as a measure or a means of control. Did you catch that? Your straw man only matters as a measure or a means of control, right? If your birth certificate says Mr. So-and-so, then that's a straw man, right? I've stopped using even Mr. I don't even talk about that much. I'm glad the book brought it up when we were going over it last night, right? That you think that Mr. means that you're a real person, or it's just a way of saying. But see, in regular English, it does. But in legalese or in lawful terminology, you're actually getting to a place of what? To where they're saying specifically, you're saying, I'm not a real person. So now Mr. So-and-so nowadays, Mrs. So-and-so nowadays, and that Ms. So-and-so, whatever. Y'all are arguing over, I don't want to be Miss. I don't want to be Mrs. You don't want to be any of them because they're all fake people. But they get you to think that you're part of but it gets you to buy into a false person. Only a fake person can be taxed. So you're trying not to miss it every time. Yeah, well, on TikTok, I was just saying they messed it up. So you got to look for us. They don't give the notifications out, and they actually don't even allow you to know that we're going live until like a bunch of people start popping in. So just kind of come on in. But we appreciate you making the effort. It's not on you, it's on them. Yeah, it's like a pseudonym. Same mindset. Exactly, Sister Saul. So if see in their culture, if you're in the United States corporation, you think that all caps you or Ms. you or Mr. you think that that's a real person, but the reality is it's a fake person. How you doing, Shiso Israel? How you doing, NRS Grand Rising? You said Mr. doesn't Mr. stand for master. Not really. You should be a master, a teacher, but at the same time, it depends, right? Like, so master can be something like master for us means teacher. Master for them used to being teacher. Then master becomes something else over time. It depends. So state by state, master is an interesting one. But so we have to be in a position where we realize how you doing, Chosen Shebrew, right? We have to be in a position to where we recognize and realize what's going on is that you have been duped into believing that the gang is not controlled, just like you've been duped into believing that your name is not controlled. And by the way, what does name mean? How you doing, Yashir? Right? What does name mean? You just heard the noun is that. I had to look that up. I don't know about that one. Not saying it's wrong. I just don't know about that one. That's something you bring it to me. I never heard. You got to ask yourself, is name, what does name mean? Remember y'all mean, what does name mean again? Somebody help me out in the comments, right? If I say you have a name, what does name mean? And that's why all this stuff is biblical. Remember, Proverbs 3:13 is on the front of the book, meet your straw man, right? It's all spiritual, believe it or not. They're using biblical principles. You guys think that they're doing the same thing that you guys said that they did the Council of Nicaea. They're repeating the same process. It's very romantic. They're taking something that wasn't theirs and they're adding to it and making it stronger to where it controls you. But yes, so name means shem. And thank you, babe. Name means authority. To have a sham, to be Shemitic means that you are authorized. And if you're authorized, you have to be authorized by the person who birthed you. That means that Noah did. Now, Noah is called the seminal head. See, people don't even recognize how this stuff works. That's why when you talk about law, you got to talk about first kingdom law, marital law, universal law. By the way, universe means universe, right? Uni, a, verse, single spoken sentence. I'm sorry, universe. Uni is a, like una, right? So uni means one, and then verse is a sentence. So universe is a single spoken sentence or a sentence, right? So the sentence, universal law, is what? Barashat, bara, elaham, atshamayam, at aratz. That's the language that Na'ah, or who you call Noah, would have spoke. So his universal law was, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. That's universal law, according to what you live in. Whether you believe it or not is not even up for debate at this point, right? Because that's what you're in. And that's what I'm trying to tell people is like, people think this thing is way far off, or you think like I'm some Bible toting, Bible thumping believer. I'm controlled by the white man because of what he said in the Bible. What you call the Bible, which most of us have an incomplete mindset of it because we haven't even read the whole thing, let alone read the whole thing outside of 66 books, even though the 66 books keep mentioning other books you should read, right? But a lot of you have this mindset. Then when I talk about the Bible, I'm talking about it from a Eurocentric perspective. How you doing, Brother Eugene? And thanks for being part of community 7 Lemonhead. A lot of us don't even realize that you're romantic. It's been romanticized. So you think of the Bible as something that's Roman. But before the Romans got their hands on it, what did it say? And people now, before this modern system got their hands on it, what did it say? See, your straw man is when you give away authority. You have to have a false sense of self in order to be in this romantic system. You don't think of it as being romantic until you realize that you're not even in a democracy. How you doing, Tommy? Right? You don't even realize that you're in a Roman system until you don't realize you're not even in a democracy. By the way, a democracy is Greek anyways. So it's still not what you claim to be. Demo, right? Like a demonstration. I give somebody a demo. I'm going to give you a little bit of what I can do, right? A demonstration, a demo, right, is literally, it means this. It can mean a small amount. It can mean a village. Watch this. It can mean, a small amount, a village, or a small amount of people. Now, what does Cressy mean? Yeah, it's a republic, right? What does Cressy mean? Cracy. We don't even know what these words mean. We argue about things that we have no clue. So a Cressy means this. A Cressy means a government. No, demo can mean small. It can mean a small group of people. It can also mean a village. Cressy means a what? Cressy means a government. So if I put democracy together, what I'm saying is a small group of people give you a small amount of information, right? A small amount of stuff, and they live in a village together, and Cressy means they govern you. Cracy, it means it's government. So a lot of your Cressy is crazy, right? You live in a crazy. Your Cressy, your government is wild, and they wilding on you. You live in a Cressy that's crazy, and they wilding on you, and they're telling you that you're not civilized. By the way, if you do live in a democracy, I got to ask you a question. Why doesn't the word democracy show up in your Constitution, especially if you're a United States corporation? If you live in that, and you live in a constitutional democracy, as you say, democracy, and they're not making a mockery of your democracy, show me where the Constitution is. I'm sorry, show me where the word democracy is in your Constitution. How you doing, Sister Elion? Shalom. Shalom, Achiat. Show me where, hear what I'm saying? Right? Democracy. Now, you technically could say you live in a democracy, but it's not even in your Constitution, which means that they know that it's unlawful for a small amount of people who live in the same place to only give you a little bit of information and only give you a few what you would call goods and resources. And so it's illegal for them to govern you like that, but they govern you like that every day because you're in Rome and you don't know the difference between romantic values and human values. People are arguing without knowing where you are, or knowing who you are. You know where you are, but you don't know who you are. You know where you are and where you're dealing with things, but you don't know who you're dealing with. Those benefits and privileges. And that's where fasting and getting closer to our intermittent fasting ending will be ending through the last day will be Thursday. We need to start fasting from Rome. How you doing, Peaches? You need to start telling yourself that it's okay. You are not Roman. You are not a Roman citizen. Yeah, we are not ruled by the many. Exactly. And that's the problem. Right? So watch this. I told you that the Roman elites and the Greek elites and the Persian elites to a certain degree, because remember, all these people came one after another and kept taking each other's culture. And the Babylonian elites and the Kemetic elites and the Assyrian elites and the Mesopotamian elites. You're dealing with the same thing, and you're not able to see what's going on. We're doing intermittent fasting, so basically from sun up to sundown. For those who only do it with us from time to time or for a week or something like that, we're in the middle of doing a week, getting ready to go into February 23rd, where we start to remove the leaven from our homes. And also, if I might say this, by the way, normally Wednesdays is my day off. This Wednesday, I will be back on. I had to be a replacement for somebody. So this Wednesday, I will be, so tomorrow, I will be on at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. I will not be on Wednesday evening, but I will be on Wednesday in the rising. How you doing, Sister Tama? Right, and how you doing, Jay Boy? Thanks for being part of the community. So I need you to see. How you doing, Ryan? How you doing from the streets to Wall Street? Right, to fast from Rome means to separate. Remember, fasting is talking about separation. If we even use the Hebrew terminology tasam, right, the original, nowadays they say tasom, but tasam, but you can even hear if you say it fast, it can kind of sound like tasam, right? But tasam is actually telling us what? That we have to separate. This is what fasting is in our culture. This is what it means. I have to separate. I have to remove myself from something so I can use a fisherman's hook to fish out things of the water, the blood, and the spirit. So if I'm fasting and I'm trying to fish something out of the spirit, but I'm not dealing with what's in my blood, what I'm eating. If I'm fasting, but I'm not dealing with the water, things that are flowing, the currents, even the currency. If I'm fasting, but I'm not dealing with the spiritual aspect of it, then I can't do it. And that's why a lot of people can't live sovereign, because sovereignty is not built for those who cannot have any water value, any blood value, and any spiritual value. How you doing, Sister Betty? How you doing, Esamati? Peace and power to you, Black. So I'm here to tell you that you got to be careful when you're dealing with a bunch of these people who are out here trying to tell you and I that we are wrong, that we are messed up. And what we're telling you, because you don't recognize that you're still part of Rome, you got to start fasting from Rome. And how you doing, Sister Monica? Yeah, we were all bamboozled. We were all messed up on this. They told us this was real. But see, I don't identify with my strong man. I don't understand a judge. I understand the King of Kings, but I don't understand a judge ever. Because to understand a judge means what? That I am willing to do whatever that judge tells me to do from this point on. So I comprehend what you're saying, Your Honor, but I don't understand. I fast, even in my mentality and how I speak. How you doing, Minister Tamara? Even in what comes out of my mouth, I fast. Out of the abundance of the heart that the mouth speak. That's the problem, is like your heart is connected to Rome. Your heart is connected to Rome. It starts with getting away from Rome. You were taught in school, you've got to have a job. But why weren't you taught in school to make sure you were a private citizen? Actually, forget it. Forgive me for what I said. You're not even a private citizen. You are private. You're a private sovereign. You are not a United States citizen. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. They got us. They got our hearts. Your heart, your lob, or even nowadays in modern Hebrew, they say your lev, right? But your lob is what? It's your passion. It's what, it's not just physical heart. It also means spiritually, it means passion. Right? Like they got us in our passion. We're passionate about things that have nothing to do with us. How you doing, Slip? They got us. And where we're passionate about being public. We're passionate about anything that makes sure that we are all caps self rather than our regular self. And see, you see all caps and you think all caps, right? When somebody writes all caps, what do you see? You see, oh, that person's being loud, that person's being boisterous, that person's being this. But all caps is a fake version of yourself in this culture that you're in. And we don't realize what we're in. I might have to move up a little bit. Looks like it's raining. Yeah. Y'all give me a second. I'm going to move our setup up a little bit, all right? I'm going to move our setup up just a touch so we can be under the... I'm so glad I was obedient. I'm going to make sure I made sure I was close to the... I made sure that I was close to the awning. Now it's trying to rain. First they wouldn't let us get on, and now it's trying to rain, but we're gonna still make this thing work. Hallelujah. Right. Give me a second to pull my stuff up. Devices or the Bible. The Bible. Can't have them get rained on. But we're not aware of what's going on. But of course, now that I come over here, it's going to act like it doesn't want to rain, but we're just going to be obedient and stay over here. So see, we're having an issue with these things going on because we don't recognize that we're still romantically valued. That's why you want to make sure that you go to the club, and the club is dark. Why does the club look like a cave? How you doing, Brother Henry? Why your clubs look like caves? Do you know? Oh, people ain't going to want to go here. However, you know they're not going to want to go here. If I talk with us, I'm going to do what you say do, but you know, the people are going to get upset. They're going to think that I'm being racist or call me a reverse racist or whatever term they want to use. But your clubs are always in darkness. You never even thought to yourself why. You think that it's more fun to be in darkness? That's Roman. Shady stuff goes down in the dark. When you're doing stuff that's dark, you don't want to be brought to light. See, if you go to a club and you're going to cheat on your wife and you're an elite official, you got to make sure people don't see it. It's Roman. If you go out on a date, why do you want it to be dark? To hide what you're doing, yeah. Why do you want it to be dark? How you doing, Sincerely? Thanks for being part of the community, right? And thank you, same to you, Susie, right? Why do you want it to be dark? Right? Why do you want it to be dark when you go out on your date? When you have your candle up? Because people couldn't afford candles like that because they lived in caves. Not everybody had it like that. And even if you didn't live in a cave, you might have lived in a jacked up version of an apartment. The caves were apartments for a lot of people of Rome. We only think about the elites. Your idea of Roman is an elite mindset, just like your idea of an American is an elite mindset. Thank you for the love. I appreciate you. How you doing, Sister Shlanda? Right? Keep us in the light. See, watch this. Watch this. Right? Your mindset is an elite mindset. When somebody says, what are American values? A lot of people say, well, a marriage, 2.5 children, white picket fence. Like that's what people legit say. Right? 2.5 children, because we don't even value life in Roman times. Right? But that's the elite mindset. How do most people in America live? If you bless somebody, you got your house, you got all, but how do most people in America live? Most people in America live below the poverty line. Most. Somebody says, no, you're going, no. Most people live below the poverty line. And most people who have don't give to those who don't have. A small amount of people have the wealth. A few people are middle class. Most people live below poverty line. And by the way, you have to even adjust your thought process of poverty line, because some of you are thinking poverty line as far as what America tells you the poverty line is. But if you got two people working together and y'all only pulling up $40,000 a year, and the government's going to come and take $20,000 of what you make, then you're poor in comparison to them. But then we got to adjust in, because wait a minute, there's people who are in Detroit, who there are families, not people, but families in the D who make, especially our diaspora, who make $6,000 a year. We don't even take that into account. It's very Roman. Once again, we focus on the elites, but never think about what everybody else is going through. And we keep looking for elites to be able to tell us how to live. Yeah, public school teaches you to be in the pub. There you go. That's why they call it public school. And thank you, sis. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you. I see you. Thank you so much. Right? Right? Like we focus on the elites all the time. When you go on TikTok, you ain't looking for somebody with 6 views and think they can teach you something. You're looking for 200 and 1,000 and this and that. Right? Right? You're looking for somebody, you're not looking for somebody who speaks in a regular voice. You're looking for somebody who's telling you that God's going to bless you. Hallelujah. Praise God. Or they say, praise God. Let's sprinkle some Jesus on it. Who cares about law? And you're living in a system where you are not a law-abiding citizen. You are a legally abused citizen. And you have no clue what's going on. It's very romantic. That's what we call Roman antics. You like the antics of Rome, but you don't like the security of the kingdom. You live in a republic. Shalom, Mactronics, how you doing? Well, private citizenship is how you live every day. I couldn't begin to, and some of the stuff, as people saw last night, I can't even go into some of the stuff out here except for bare minimum stuff. I had to teach a lot of stuff offline because they don't want you to know. Like those who were on with us last night, you saw clearly, me just putting something in the title about being a straw man. They wouldn't even let anybody come on. That's how buttoned up it is. But we do teach sovereignty classes for sure. Right now, the semester is getting ready to end, but we have another semester getting ready to come up. If you want to do one-on-one stuff too, we can set that up too and still get you a class and all that stuff too and help you out, via donation and all that, because, it does take a lot for some of the stuff that we preside, but we aren't like some of them that are asking for $500, $1,000 and all that stuff. I mean, we do donation about $120 per class. And we ask for donations literally. So we can work all the stuff up behind the scenes. So we're not trying to take anything out from you. And we wanted to make sure you got some money to actually become sovereign, because it does take a little bit of what you're making. So we ain't trying to do all that to you. Right. So just holler at us, things like that. But hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying, right? Like we have a lot of different things. Yeah, and they blocked us, for a little while. And the 0 people saw us for like the first 10 minutes on TikTok, right? People were coming over to the YouTube channel, right? So this is, a lot of people don't recognize what's going on where you're living in Roman values. You said Elites believe they are Elohim. Well, some people do believe that they're Elohim. Some people say they're God, right? But we don't teach that. We don't believe in that, right? And thanks, babe. Yeah, my wife just put in the comment section where you can text us at to be able to get more information. We can get back in contact with you, all right? And when we do our shout out, if you make it to the end of this, at the end of this on TikTok, we try to do a shout out, which is to music, and we try to put some information up. I guess we're gonna have to do it differently until we can make sure that we're allowed to start showing pictures again. They've taken away people's rights to have a background behind them. So We'll try and figure that out. Matter of fact, I might try to be clever with it and try to maybe put some stuff in while the music's playing to where we can, we might be able to do something like we played around a little bit last night for the first time. I used the, but they don't have the interact thing on here now since we started using that. Interesting enough, now I can't use interact, but whenever interact pops up on my screen, I will try to maybe use some of the, what do you call it? Because they don't even let me type in anymore. I can't type in on TikTok, but I'll try to use, what do they call it? The surveys. And maybe I'll just write in the survey our information. I don't know. We'll see if it works. Right now, they won't let me use it again because we used it last night. We're at a place where it's been very interesting, right? But once again, when you use somebody else's system, when you're in somebody else's system, you're in the land of your captivity. And see, we live like that. We have Stockholm syndrome. We think that capitalism is great, but capitalism is literally defined as when politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by private corporations who have owners, and they wield it for profit, and it's not by the state. The word state means country. It means government. And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Right? Yeah, and yet they say there's freedom of speech for sure, right? So freedom of speech is relative. But if you're using somebody's corporation, the corporation's private. Y'all think TikTok's public? The public and private can use it, but it's privately owned. So when I come to TikTok, I have to do whatever the private corporation says. And if the owner of the private corporation says, I don't like the type of stuff that Kofi's doing, make sure you set up an algorithm that comes against it, then I have to deal with that. That's the way it works. And so I don't get upset or frustrated when I'm in the system, but not of it. I'm allowed. They can't stop me from being in it. But if I do some stuff that's going to be detrimental to it according to their laws, then I got to realize I'm not of it. And they cancel people like that. That's why we ask you guys, check us out on Kofi_40. Check us out on Kofi_42. Check us out on Kofi_43. Check us out on Kofi_44. Why? Because we've been canceled so much that we know that, hey, they might bounce us from one place, so we might have to go somewhere else. That's the way it works. But see, I am Arabic, not by what you guys think Arabic means nowadays. You know what it used to mean, which just means nomadic. My people are nomadic. So if I got to travel from one place to another, I do that all day, every day anyways. I'll go across country. That's no problem. If they say that, hey, this city's going to be canceled because of COVID stuff, no problem. My family and I will come somewhere else, and we'll make sure that we set up shop there because we've been able to make sure that we started living sovereignty, right? We were able to break the Roman system enough off of, see, I'm not breaking the Roman system. I'm not here to save the world, but I'm here to break out of it. We've been able to break off enough of that yoke off of us to where we actually have the ability to not have to listen to the master's call, who's the master, who's Roman. See? And so all I'm doing is reporting, right? I was ported here. I used to be in the United States Corporation. I used to be part of the United States military. And by the way, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for your service. I was there at 17. I was agnostic. I was somebody that believed in Christianity. I was somebody that didn't know the name of the Most High. I was somebody that didn't think that, hey, when they said separation of church and state, I was tricked into thinking that meant that they aren't using religion in their state, in their government. But I was ported with you guys, and I was able to get separate enough to be able to come back with a little bit of message, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of truth to say, hey, like, you don't have to be here. I'm reporting to come back and say, yep, come out of her. You don't have to be here. Come on, let's leave. Anybody that wants to be grafted in, if you want to follow the law the real way, you can come out too. How you doing, Brother Cobra? Right? That's what I've been able to do. And how you doing, D3? Thanks for being part of the community. Right? That's so all we're trying to do is show people that you don't have to be romantic. Matter of fact, may I say it like this? You are not Roman. I'm sorry. Glad fan was having many doubts about the Bible and prayed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah for you. I'm on. Yeah. So we're trying to come out. And we want you to come on with us. Hey, how you doing, Sister Marion? I don't know if I said hello or not. Well, Hebrews are Moors by definition. And Moors can be Hebrew by definition. It's very interesting, right? But the diaspora has an ability to come out. But see, we do this weird thing. We say our diaspora, and I get it, right? We mean our diaspora physically. But see, not all Israel is Israel. Not every Moor is a Moor. Not every native is a native. Because a lot of people identify with where they are rather than who they are. Fast from Rome. Fast from Rome. You see that? Fast from it. Why is it that you think that your IQ means a whole lot? I'm not saying it doesn't, but I want you to hear the question specifically. Why do you think that your IQ, hear what I'm saying? Why do you think that your IQ means something? I didn't say it doesn't mean something. Listen to the question. Why do you think your IQ means something? It's because you bow down to somebody else's version of an IQ, intellectual quotient. Where did the IQ test come from? It came out of Europe. See, and when you realize that anybody, no matter what color you are, anybody that says they are European is literally saying, I am somebody who belongs to Rome. Exactly. So because somebody else said so, and thanks for being part of the community, Deshaun, because somebody else told you this version of IQ is what we are testing for, you are trying your best to pass their test. Your child doesn't even live in a culture, in a house in which you guys even do that. But you send your child to school to make sure that they can go ahead and get a better opportunity. What does that mean? That they won't live like you live. But why does a better opportunity have to be outside of the way I live? Now, if I'm poor, destitute mindset, then yeah, maybe we should change that in the house. But why is it, right? Why is it that you believe that to not be like yourself means to have a better IQ? Right? I was talking to some people yesterday and I was doing some code switching because I was talking to some people that were country. We're trying to get together stuff for our, September 29th through October the 5th so we can come together for the tabernacles for everybody that's coming, whether they're going to be just a couple days or whether you guys are going to be with us all 7 days, whatever. And as I was talking to them, I heard the accent of the person I was on the phone. And guess what I knew I had to do? I code switched because I realized that just by the accent. Now, I know I am assuming somewhat. I'll give you that. But statistics show, right, we know as a people that if I'm putting in the application for something, I am going to need to go ahead and instead of saying this and that or saying shalom and blah, blah, I'm going to need to talk to this person that says, hello, I'm so glad to be able to talk to you. I was just wondering if I could be able to speak to you regarding something very specific. See, we're going to be putting on an event and we need to make sure that people have handicap issues and this and that or whatever. And I was looking at your national parks in the area and I saw that you might be able to provide some of the things that we would like, right? I had changed it. Why? Because a lot of people, because I changed my IQ to sound more Eurocentric, they say, oh, okay, he must be worth listening to. And he gave me all the information I wanted and told me, you actually want to call this person to do this and go to this website. And you can actually check out and see what everything looks like and blah, blah, right? I had to realize that when I was talking to him, I had to be in his system, even though the goal is to make sure that when we show up, we ain't going to be of it. But first things first, I have to code switch. Why? Because in this system, they hold a certain IQ. See, if you don't know your system, then you don't know what is fashionable or what is great as far as concerning your IQ. Everything that gives you the intellectual quotient that you desire or what they desire, you have learned it, but your people, you haven't learned. Habarigane, Jambo, Akwaba, Itisen, Shalom, Shalom, Raishan Shalom, Shai Shai Shalom, Shlai Shai Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. What, all right? Osaya, Alakitawaya. That's like our culture is missing. We're not prepared for us because you care about where you are rather than who you are. And see, in this system that you're in, even by law, it doesn't matter where you are. It matters who you are. They don't. If you knew that, you wouldn't even sign a birth certificate because nobody has to have a birth certificate to do anything. But our parents didn't know any better. We didn't know any better. We signed away our rights. How you doing, old head energy? We signed away our rights. And so when we're talking about this, I'm not talking to you to say that I'm better than anybody else, if this could be better, or this will make me better, or yada, yada, yada. I'm trying to tell you this because I want you to be who you always were. Who you always were. not where you are. I want you to be who you are. And if we can get where we are together, then who we are won't be so problematic. I'm sorry, if we can get who we are together, rather, excuse me. Let me rewind. Let's rewind. You're more concerned about where you are than who you are. I'm not coming here to speak to where you are. I'm coming to speak to who you are. This is why you're going to get direction that you've never gotten direction from Maras or Jellies or Jerry Griots or Griots like myself. You're going to get something different contextually than somebody else will. Why? Because I'm not concerned about you staying where you are. I'm concerned about who you are, which means that if you're going to become better in who you are, you got to be better in the direction that you're headed in. This is eternal. This is eternal words. This is eternal words. See, if I do it right, it's going to heal the 3-year-old you, the 33-year-old you, and the 63-year-old you at the same time, because it's an eternal word. It's a different culture. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of living. You're only concerned about where you are. That's why you live paycheck to paycheck. You don't live paycheck to paycheck just because you only got a little bit. You're romantic in value. You think that where you are in Rome makes you valuable. So you live paycheck to paycheck, not because you don't have the money. You don't have the money because you don't think about things as far as where you're headed. You invest in where you're headed. Oh, that's a word for somebody right there, right? I don't know if Sister Brianna and Brother Brian are on today, but that's a word for somebody today, right? Those who invest, you don't invest because of you're concerned about where you are right now. You invest because of who you want to be in the future. That's why you invest. People talking about don't invest in cryptocurrency because it went all the way up to 60-something thousand. It came back down to 20,000. Well, before it went from 0.0000000 something cents up to 40,000 and came down to 20,000 before it went back up to 60,000, right? Which means at some point it's going to go bigger than that, 60,000, before it comes back down to 60,000. But the reason you should get it is not even because of that. So you're thinking about where it is right now. Get it because of who you want to become. If you want to be private, if you want to have control over your own bank account, because that's what it is your own bank account. You learn how to use it properly so that you will have something called decentralized money. That's why we teach cryptocurrency as part of the curriculum, because we're teaching you decentralization. Even if you don't necessarily go into cryptocurrency, at least learn how to have your money decentralized. That means that a government official can't tell you what to do with what's yours. That's why cryptocurrency is so important. That's why everybody jumped on it. Because currency just means anything that people agree upon. So currency means that they're not anything people, I'm sorry, currency, the way we think about it financially, means that basically we've agreed that we can spend this. That's all we're saying. If you say currency, all you're saying is we agree this flows. Thank you, babe. Appreciate you. Right? That's all we're saying. But you got to comprehend that fiat cash, which is what you call the dollars, paper or cloth, it has no value anyways because there's nothing to back it up. The gold standard's done. You must comprehend that if you reach into your pocket and you pull out your wallet and you go in there, you grab your card and you swipe the card, you never swiped anything, right? Peep game. In your bank account, there is no money, right? Every once in a while, you can get some money from an ATM, and they only have a limited amount. If you went to an ATM or a bank and you asked for, let's say you got $20,000 worth of numbers in your account, and you ask the bank for $20,000 worth of money to back it up, they'll tell you we can't give it to you. They'll say you're gonna have to give us a week, 2 weeks, something like that. Why? Well, number one, because they're investing your money, which you should be investing, right? But number two, they don't have enough money. There's no money. They just don't have it. They don't carry it. A bank only has to have 9% of what they say that they have. If they give you a loan, they only have to have technically, and they don't even do that, but technically all they have to do is have 9% of what they're loaning you. And by the way, when they loan you money, they never loan you money. They loan you dollars. I'm sorry, not dollars. They don't loan you money. They loan you credit, right? Or they debit money out of their own account and give it to you, expecting that you're going to give them credit. There's only two things that really exist in your bank account. It's credit and debit. If you put money, like if you work, when you work 40 hours in your week and you get to the end of that week, guess what's going to happen? After you work 40 hours in that week and and from 2 weeks ago, the company finally pays you what you owed 2 weeks ago, right? So you think it's 40 hours and then they paid you for what you did. No. You worked 40 hours and they pay you from what the efforts you did 2 weeks ago. for that to show up, right? So you work 40 hours, the effort that you put in 2 weeks ago finally shows up, and as they give some numbers in your account, it's called crediting. They just put credit there. Amen. Exactly, baby. Yeah, banks are not for storing money, right? So all they're doing is taking the money and they do what's called, they put a credit in there. You don't have money, they just put credit. And if you ask for anything out of your account to pay a bill, they don't say we're taking money out. They say we debit it. So let's say I'm gonna keep it simple because I'm not great with math, right? But $500 is credited. You decide that you want to use 200 of it for bills, so you debit. So now you have a credit of $300. You don't have $300. You have a credit. For something that you think exists. They don't even have money, which means you don't have money. But you were taught in school. Matter of fact, you weren't even really taught in school about banks anyways. But you were taught through school to just trust the teacher, trust the banker. And credit is like a slave reward. By the way, what is credit supposed to be? Should anybody have good or bad credit? Can good or bad credit exist? And how you doing, Sister Juanita? Can good or bad credit exist? Some of y'all marry people because they have good or bad credit. Some of you get together and be like, "Oh, he gonna be good because he got good credit, girl. He might slap you, he might do this, but you won't get with him. He got good credit." Credit is debt, exactly. See, watch this. Credit is supposed to mean that I come to you. If I have a credit with you, it means that I come to you and I already paid you $500. That $500 is a credit, right? I sold into you. I gave a donation. I tithed. I gave a tribute. That's what it is. It's a credit. And then when I give a credit, whatever I need, I get it out of that credit that I've already given. When I give into you, I just come back later and I say, hey, you know what? I want to go ahead and go to this hotel. You say, okay, this hotel is going to cost you $85. Okay, cool. Go ahead. Go ahead. No problem. And then what they do, they say, okay, you got $415 left of credit. That's what credit's supposed to be, correct? But you think credit is debt. They say you have a good credit score. You got to be careful about these words because good is supposed to be constitutional. But see, good in their system, you don't know that good is a Germanic word. Good and God are the same thing. Good speed, Godspeed, Guten Tag. That's how you say good day or good, good top of the morning, whatever, right? That's why you say goodbye is God be with you, because they have bad gods. And so you want to be careful that hopefully a good God is with you. God can be whatever you want it to be, by the way, which is why it says on your money, in God we trust. You make your money a God, not realizing that really it's not even the money, but it's the gods on your money. Because on the dollar bill, who's your God? George Washington. On the $2 bill, who's your God? Thomas Jefferson. On the $5 bill, who's your God? Abraham Lincoln. Help me out. On the $10 bill, who's your God? On the $20 bill, who's your God? On the $50 bill, who's your God? On the $100 bill, who's your God? The slave masters, all of them own slaves. There's not one person on the money that didn't own slaves, which means that guess what? You are in a slave system and you don't realize that you are the slave. Once again, you all caps. And so you spend money. In God we trust. I trust George Washington. If you lived in the time of George Washington, would you trust George Washington? If you have to trust George Washington, it's because you're his slave. Come on. It might hurt you, but I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to show you. Amen. You try to credit as little as possible. Or if you do, because look, I don't think that it's bad necessarily to build up good credit. If you want, just make sure that you don't ever pay for something on your credit card that, if necessary, you couldn't pay off like that. Credit cards should not be used in case of emergency. Saving up money should be used in cases of emergency. Credit cards, if you're going to have them, just use it to play the game. It's a game. What'd you say, babe? Remember when Congress came out and did a ceremony and yelled, "In God we trust"? Boom. Bars, babe. My wife got bars. What are they doing with your money in their banks? Nothing great. Higher interest loans. Right? I'm sorry, babe. I missed the next comment. What you say? There was a whole thing to move "In God we trust" from money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. right? They removed it. By the way, it wasn't initially in your in your um, what is that? Your Pledge of Allegiance, right? For which it says one nation under God. But they added that thing in there, and they put in God we trust. Everything is about their God. As a religion. How you doing, Sean? He said, so if you have a trust that's not good, know what I'm saying? See, your trust should be built up so that you built up trust for yourself. See, if your trust is to build up trust to protect yourself, that's different than in their God we trust. So yeah, having a trust is a righteous thing. You just got to make sure you know what you're doing with it. Right? How you doing, user 4566740, etc. Thanks for being part of the community. Appreciate you. Right? So trust is a righteous thing. You just have to do it correctly, right? Technically, money can be used righteously, but don't make it your God. See, that's why some of you save money in savings account, but you don't invest it. Some of you use a CD. Some of you are doing 401ks, et cetera, right? The reality is that you want to make sure your money gets you something real. Money's not real. People who make more money than you, they always spend more money than you. And that's the trick of the enemy, is to get you to think that you should save something that really it's just currency. Currency has to flow. If I don't, right? Like one of the things that's going with the land project, that in all honesty is one of the most devastating things for me personally. I'm not saying it's bad per se, but I'm just saying it's hard for me. How about I say it like that? It's like to have to keep saving this money, because I know that technically you got to spend money to make money. But right now, our people in such a system that where we got to slowly build and slowly build and slowly build. So we're going to do what we got to do now. But once we get the land, that's why as soon as we get it, guess what? It's time for us to start sowing into it. Put some food on there. Make sure our community's eating, but also make sure we're selling some of it. Why? Because once you have something that's real, it's supposed to flow. That's why a lot of you guys, when you eat your vegetables and your fruits and everything, even if they're grown organically, supposedly, they still don't give you what you need out of them, because people don't rotate crops. They don't know that, hey, if you put the corn over here this year and you put the beets over here this year and you put the squash over here this year, you got to make sure the next year that you put the squash or the beets over here this year and put the corn over here this year. And you got to move the squash over here this year so you can make room for the apples over here this year. You're supposed to, well, not the apples come from trees, but hopefully you get the context. Right? You might want to put the watermelons or the tomatoes over here this year. You might want to have 3 working together as one, with your beans, your squash, and your corn. You know, you want to make sure that you're constantly, consistently making sure those minerals are growing correctly. It's a different system. But we're very romantic in values. We're very romantic in values, right? You become a Roman citizen. You have become a Roman citizen. They even say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. How you doing, Judge of Humanity? Well, you can go ahead, reach out to us through the link tree on our main page, or you can wait a little bit towards the end. We'll make sure we give out some more information. Praise Yah, right? But you got to realize the system is wicked. It is corrupt. It is designed to be such, and it's gonna mess you up if you're not careful. It's designed to mess you up. It's designed to keep you in bondage. Many still live as slaves, and you send your children to slave places. You think that prison is worse than schools. But that's why your children don't like school. That's why there's very few children that like school. And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Your children really don't like school. Your children don't even like school. Right? And we go, oh, no, you need to go. Just go and do what the teacher said. I don't like it. No, just go there. Do what the teacher. Your child is in prison. They hate it there. And that's being part of community spunk, right? They hate it there. They don't want to be there. You didn't want to be there. Real talk. Just like you don't want to go to your job. Your child is learning. You think that your child is learning to make it through something. Your child is learning that even if they want to be who they are, they can't become who they are. It's prison. Credit can mean belief as well, right? Yeah, credit means belief. You think that there's a credit, you think there's a belief, but credit is supposed to be a belief based off of action. Remember, faith without works is dead. If I say that I have $500 worth of credit, it means that I should have $500. But what you say is, I got $500 worth of credit. You actually are saying, I believe that I have $500. And thank you for the love. This first gift, thank you so much. Is that Charisse? I don't know, or Cherishes, T-Girl? I'm not sure if I said that correctly. But thank you for being on. Appreciate you. Right? This is you, but you believe you have. Amen. And my wife is going to be doing some of this stuff on Patreon, so we're going to be having tiers. I know I've been promising this, so those of you who've been waiting for me to do the brain dump stuff, we'll give like a month of just a regular thing before we have like a second level tier for that. And then those that are on Patreon will have another level tier for that, for those who are going to also have access to what my wife's going to be bringing to the table for you guys very soon. Try and get that started by March for you guys. And we'll probably put a little bit of content on there just so you guys can see how it works. So those who are part of the Patreon kingdom, if y'all want to continue to grow in that and grow with us in that, we appreciate you for it, right? But you got to realize, like, you've been duped in all these words. Credit means I believe I have something that I don't have. And by the way, that's how a lot of the people that are rich, they make their money. They'll tell you that. They say, I don't use my money on stuff. I put together a board. I put together a group. I make a private company publicly traded, and I take everybody else's money. That's what the investing in. You're investing in their company, but they keep a certain amount of shares for themselves so that they can always have control of what you're investing in, which is cool. Like, I invest in stuff. I'm not saying you can't invest in anybody's stuff, but I'm just saying I know that company is not mine. But see, here's the deal. When I invest in them, when I have a share in what they're doing, I don't work. I don't job for them. And I have the right, especially the more shares I have the right to be able to speak up and say, I don't like what you're doing because I have a share in what you're doing. A lot of people, you just have jobs. You toil for people, and therefore you do what? You have no say, because a person who toils for the company, some of you, all right, it's interesting. You toil for the company for shares, but then you never stop toiling. Right? So it's interesting. Some of you have been tricked to, hey, invest your money in us while we're the ones paying you the money, but you're still going to be a slave that's just giving us your money. Sounds like when you had sharecroppers who thought they weren't slaves, but they never learned how money worked, and they couldn't read or write, and they didn't know. They knew that they made a certain amount of money, but they didn't comprehend contracts. And so every year they would be like, okay, pay me my money. And the slave owner, who now is masquerading as somebody who's the boss, says, well, I would pay you, but I would pay you, Sally. I would pay you, Sally Sue. However, I had to give your husband, Jeremiah, I had to give him an ox. I had to give him some land to live on. I had to give you guys stuff for food because you couldn't feed yourselves for a little bit. So, you're actually still in debt to me. I thought we'd be able to own this. I thought that's what we did. How many of us have had family members, or we ourselves have done some stuff where it's like, pay to own? You done it before. How many of y'all did errands or rent a center? I used to work for Rent a Center. I used to get more business than anybody else. Matter of fact, the reason why Rent a Centers look like they do now, they tried it out on one of the stores. There were 4 stores across the nation that they tried it out on. One of the stores was ours, and we had something basically called like 7 BOR, where the average store, a good store, had like 200 and something BOR. That means they had contracts. We had 700 and something. And the reason we did is because I would tell people straight up, like, yo, I would teach them how the RV, the remaining value, worked. My manager, and then I became the manager, but my manager and the district manager and the regional manager, they taught us that. Then they got upset with us though eventually, because I would tell people like, yo, if somebody takes this out the store and brings it back, you can buy it and it's already got a lesser value just because it left the store and came back. You know that, right? So I'd have people that were calling me up because we would tell them the truth about how money worked. But a lot of people, that's not how they roll with you. Rent a Center's goal was to get 230-something% from y'all. At least. Whatever they paid for it, they should be able to get 230-something% back. I might even be off. I feel like it might be 330-something% back. But let me just stay on the low side. If you get 230-something% back, and you always wanted brand new. Why? Because you thought brand new was better, right? You didn't want any kind of scratch. But what if there's a scratch on the back? If there's a scratch on the back, I got to make it less than what it is. Right? I started getting people hip to the game. I'd be like, yo, you might not like it because we had to get this from somebody and it's got a dent in the side of the washer. Yeah, I don't want no washer. Well, look, is anybody going to be in your washroom like that? Is anybody be in your laundry room like that? If nobody's going to be in your laundry room, take it with the dent, get a hammer, take the dent out. If you can't do it, just find somebody that can take a rubber mallet and take the dent out for you. Now you don't have a dent. And I saved you $500. And now that it's only like $200 left, pay it off in 90 days and you won't have to pay all the ridiculous fees and stuff that come with it because they have a 90-day, worry-free guarantee. Like I used to hook it up. So I always they get mad because I wasn't like slicing people up, but they couldn't be mad with the results because everybody else was trying to get up to 200 contracts. We were at 750, sometimes 800. 750 was the average for us, but we don't think about that. Why? Because you're thinking about what? Romantic values, romanticize. It's got to look perfect. It's got to look immaculate. Like nobody going to be in your laundry room. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's going to be in your laundry room. Nobody cares if your washer and dryer match. Right? Stop trying to be something that you don't need to be. Watch this. Nobody's going to know if you ate food from Chick-fil-A or if you ate food from McDonald's. Only you will. We'll see but you know what? We'll see the outcome of it. Nobody's going to know if you ate food that you foraged or if you ate food that came from a restaurant. But eventually the outcome will tell us. It's not everybody's business. Anyways. Right? But you live in a very romantic mindset that says that I got to have what the elites have. So that's how you spend your money. These are the people that care if your wash and dry match don't need to be in your house. Exactly, right? Nobody cares. Like when people invite, like when we travel and we're going to start traveling again soon, I don't know, we're probably not going to do it to the magnitude we did last year, but when we traveled around and say hello to everybody, as we always try to do at least once a year, be in people's area and stuff like that. And as people are now this year coming together more and stuff, I promise you, like people have invited us over their homes and people be like, well, I didn't really want to invite you. Like we stayed in homes where, the ceilings weren't all together. It was warm, it was comfortable, and they showed us love and we ate well. Like I don't care what your house looks like. It looks like it's lived in. And if you own it and it's falling apart a little bit, we might even try to help you out and give you some pointers and stuff. But I damn sure ain't gonna be mad at you. I'm not judging you because of the way your house looks, but see, people who are very romantic in value do. I'm not saying have a just dirty house where you don't clean up nothing and you live in squalor. Right? I'm not saying that. I'm not bringing my family into that. And most of the time, my family can't really, especially nowadays, we're usually on the move, so we can't really be over people's homes. What I'm saying is if you invite us into your home and it looks like you live there, it looks like you just moved in there or whatever, who cares? Right? Yeah, fake friends. Yeah, how's your heart? What really matters to you? Yeah. And if I'm worried about the way that you live in, guess what I'm going to do? Hey, is there anything I can do to help you out? You got to fast from Rome. You got to come back from it. We got to remember who we are. This stuff doesn't matter to us. That's why they're knocking you over the head with money, because you think that money is something to hold on to. That's a slave mentality. You used to come from the Gold Coast. You used to have to tell children, be careful because you might stub your toe on a gold nugget. You were Khalifa people where they went and they did where the 49ers went to be able to get all the gold from there because they worship what you used to just play around. Right? You got to get out of a mentality that says that I've got to hold on to everything rather than just build something for my family. I don't need to hold on to everything. I make sure I fast from the things that don't matter and I hold fast to the things that matter. We talked about that a long time ago, that word hold fast. See, hold fast, fasting, once again, is talking about I'm separating from it, but holding on to something means I'm holding on at the same time. It sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds like something that's cognitive dissonance. It sounds like something that is unapologetically used. However, I promise you that it's apologetically sound. If I hold fast, there's certain things I can hold on to that separate me from the system. That's what's going on. You got to hold to things that cause you to fast. And the thing, if you're going to fast from Rome, then that means you have to hold on to anything anti-Rome. And that's why they don't like when we speak like this. That's why they try to tell us, that's why they try to make sure nobody can get on. You got to hold fast. That's why they say it doesn't matter if you're native. They teach you zero about the Wampanoag. They teach you zero about oh gosh, I'm forgetting what I'm trying to say. Le pig. I know that's not right. It'll come to me. That's why I try to teach you less about the Haudenosaunee. You know more about the Iroquois than the Haudenosaunee, except you don't even know they're the same people. That's why they should try to teach you less about the Buffalo Soldier, who, yes, betrayed their own people, but at the same time did some stuff that you should probably give them credit for. That's why they try to teach you less about Cherokee and Tissalagi and Taino and Blackfoot and Creek and Seminole and Choctaw and Anakitoya, right? And Olmec-Shi and Khalifa and Sioux and Lakota and Dakota, right? And that's just in the United States of America, right? That's just in the United States of America. You didn't learn any of that in school. You didn't know that Jamaicans were not considered to just be in Jamaica before colonization, because Jamaicans were up near the people of Manhattan, or the people who were in Manhattan, because Manhattan just means crazy folk, because they thought that the salty people, the shoe something, I can't remember the shoe something, but basically the salty people, the white people that were coming on boats in the ocean from the ocean, they called them Manhattan. They said they were crazy. Or if they call you Arawak, right? Which is basically Taino anyways, which ties a bunch of us together. You say Taino, that Taino is bigger than an island. People think I'm Taino because you say you're Puerto Ricano. Like, no, that just means you're my cousin, you're my brother, you're my sister. Yeah, Jamaica is talking about the people. Matter of fact, Jamaica, which is not how they pronounce it, but Jamaica basically is saying that you're talking about people that were always around beavers, people that were in beaver country. So interestingly enough, Jamaicans are not people that are around beavers all the time, are they? Which means that what they're saying, what the people who colonized, the English, the Europeans, Europe is anything that belongs to Rome. So people who have a Roman mindset are trying to say they're romantic. When they colonized those people and they gentrified it, they named them and they said the same people that we saw up in the upper Americas, we're going to call you guys that in the West Indies. That's it. That's what they did. That's what happened. See, once again, it doesn't matter where you are. It matters who you are. If you know where you are, then you know that there's a reason why a bunch of people in Jamaica, that's why a lot of people who were in New York, they love Jamaica. That's why a lot of people who were black all over the place, or if you want to call yourself Moor, black, Yastel, Hebrew, whatever, right? That's why you love people who are Jamaican and you love their food. You know why? Because you eat the same type of food. Why? Because it's the type of food that your people ate all over the world. It's very similar. Their rice reminds you of jollof rice. So you like it. You had ox in Israel. They have ox over there. You like it. It reminds you of home. It reminds you of who you are. You said you were wondering how those Buffalo Soldiers were called that. Mm-hmm. Even the Buffalo Soldiers, right? Buffalo. Where's the buffalo at? Who are the people that live with buffalo? How do we make a real freedom move? Well, if you're saying, what do we do to make sure that we go ahead and help the community? We have many different things that we already do. If you'd like to learn about it, you can go and click on our link tree and try to find out more. Text us, email us, and we'll try to get back to you ASAP. But first things first, it starts in the mind. First things first, it starts in your mind. Is your mindset one to where you even think you need to be free? Is your mindset one to where you think you're free? If you think you're free already and you got Stockholm syndrome, then you won't ever want to be free. Right? If you got Stockholm syndrome in your mind and you think you're free, you'll never really want to be free anyways. Come on, Kwame Yashida, rise up. Right? You know what I'm saying? But a lot of us, you think you're free, but you're Roman. If you're Roman, then you're not free. Right? Look, my grandmother, Jamaican, right? So in my blood, but at the same time, right? And I'm talking about grandmother, first generation to come over from Jamaica. That's what I mean, right? So my mother, Jamaican tendencies. I have some Jamaican tendencies as well, right? It doesn't mean that I'm Jamaican. What you mean? Well, because she was born in a fictitious place called Jamaica. Oh, wow, thank you for the love, appreciate it. She was born in a fictitious place called Jamaica because we didn't call ourselves that. Which means that she took on a personality that's not hers. I'm not saying that people that don't live in the place that people now call Jamaica are not great people or real people. What I'm saying is if you identify as something fake, then you'll start taking on fake things. So if somebody says you're Jamaican because of your blood, I get what you mean, but it doesn't matter where I'm from. It matters who I'm from. See, because my Jamaican grandmother, she also had what they call Arawak or blood or Taino blood, or even her people also came from West Africa. She's mixed. I know where I come from. And I told y'all this last night. A lot of people, well, until I get my DNA test and my DNA test, do you know they can't tell where they can't? Do you know that there's no way, zero way? Y'all ain't gonna like me. Do some research. There's 0% that somebody can tell where you're from as far as who you're connected to a long time ago by DNA. People don't like when I say, talk to geneticists. Stop listening to people who are doing this company stuff. The reason we know this is because people have been suing, especially twins, have been suing when they've been finding out that their twin and them somehow, some way don't hold the same DNA. They don't come from the same place, but they came from the same womb and literally the same sperm and the same egg. How can they not be? We're talking about identical twins. How can you not have the same DNA? Talk to geneticists. People are mad at when you say that. No, talk to geneticists because you've gone by the idea of Rome. Once again, what is capitalism? Capitalism is a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade industry is wielded by owners of private corporations for profit and not the state. They just want your blood. They just want to do things with your DNA, to research. They want to be able to sometimes use it to give to other people. Your spit, your blood, whatever it is, they want to be able to study you. But we're so romantic that we say, well, whatever the capitalists say, because in capitalism, whoever has the capital is the king or the queen. I'm just here to tell. See, people don't believe it. Go listen to geneticists. Go look it up. I've been telling y'all for the longest time, like, I don't even really know. I'm not even going to do the DNA thing, but you don't need DNA to be able to tell who you are. Even if you can't tell every single person who you are, if we do enough research, I promise you there's ways of being able to find out where you are. There's even apps out there that'll be able to say like this person's name and that person's name, and you'll at least be able to be like, yeah, that actually you could search it. You can see who owned land. You can see who was in prison. There's different ways of being able to catch who you are. But everybody's like, let's just do the DNA. Yeah, it has to work. Like the geneticists fooled us. And how you doing, Justin? They fooled us. And how you doing, Dwayne, if I didn't say so already? They fooled us. They told everybody, go ahead, get your DNA. Get your DNA test. Give us more blood. Give us more of this. Give us more of that. They lied. They lied. I can't tell, it's a stab in the dark. I might be like able to kind of sort of point you in the right direction. And then I even told people on top of that, let's say that there was truth, that all the DNA tests work 100%. Right? Which we know there's no such thing as 100% accuracy anyway. So somebody says, well, you're trying to talk about, but I'm talking about there's been multiple people suing because there's obvious glitches that can't just be glitches. They got to be that they completely don't work. Right? But for those that'll say, no, you're just talking about a glitch here or there. Okay, cool. Let's say that you're from these people who lived at this place 500 years ago, lived in this place 800 years ago, lived in this place 2,000 years ago, whatever they're trying to say. Let's say all that's accurate. Do you not know that those people may not have been there? Like, that there's, for example, let's say that they found one of your ancestors in the ancient city of Pompeii, right? What caused the people, What caused Pompeii to ultimately meet its destruction, meet its end? Anybody remember? This is stuff that they usually teach in the public schools. Volcano eruption, right? Exactly. So volcano eruption, and people were like literally like preserved in a manner where it was like astounding because of how the volcano and everything and how the ashes and everything covered it. So they got poisoned basically by the ashes and by the the steam and all the stuff in the air and the poisonous gas coming from the volcano. Ashes came down, settled on them, and so now these people, even if they weren't right up on the volcano, they were, even everybody in like the outskirts, they pretty much end up dying, especially in this big city called Pompeii, right? And there was a lot of elites and stuff there too, and slaves, of course, because if you're going to be an elite, you got to have slaves around you. That's the way it works in this system, in this romantic government. But when these people died, right? If they say you got people whose bloodline comes from there, a lot of those people aren't from there, and a lot of those people were vacationing there, which means that you still don't necessarily know where you're from. But that's why they got you messed up. That's that 14th Amendment citizenship and this romantic type of value and this romantic type of government. Right? In this romantic government, you believe it's more important where you come from than who you come from. Isn't it interesting that a lot of people don't even want you to call yourself kings and queens because they say kings and queens are bad. Kings and queens are tyrants. You don't want to be around kings and queens. But it's like, no, your kings and queens are tyrants. Now, I'm not saying we've ever had a bad king or queen who's a person of color. What I'm trying to tell you, though, is that their kings and queens are bad. Don't put that on me. Queen Nzinga is awesome. You said the live keeps freezing. Okay, hold on one second. Right, for us, queens and kings are awesome. For us, kings and queens are awesome. They tell you don't want to be a king or a queen. Why are you always talking about calling yourself? Why you say what's up, king? Why you say what's up, queen? Kings and queens are terrible. No, for us, kings and queens are awesome. Look up Queen Ty and tell me she's not awesome. Look up Queen Nzinga. Tell me she's not awesome. Look up Chief Kali or Khalifa. That's where you get California from. Look up who she is. Tell me she's not awesome. Look up Gaddafi, and that he trusted women so much that he made sure that it was women who were his personal guard. Tell me in our culture that we don't think the our queens are awesome. Right? You hear what I'm saying? Like, you tell me that these kings and queens aren't awesome. Right? I didn't even get into the kings. Right? You see what I'm saying? But we don't even think about those things. And you're supposed to be a king or a queen because he's the king of kings. You have a royal bloodline and you can be grafted in. Get yourself one. Yeah. You can be grafted in even if you're not, and you can become. But you are a king or a queen. You are a child of the Most High. Once you get adopted into this community, once you get adopted into your kingdom, once you get adopted into your queendom, that you are authorized to be a king or queen. Of course, they wouldn't want you to think that you're that. But see, in Roman society, there can only be one, even though there's many. But technically, there can only be one. So anybody who tries to be like them, anybody who tries to be like the king or queen, see, you're supposed to be like them in a sense to where you're supposed to bow down to them and want to please them, but you're not supposed to be like them in the presence to where you're supposed to have as much as them. You said only when you do the commandments to your child? Yeah, thank you for the correction, yeah. But of course, we do teach that here. But I thank you and appreciate you for making sure that that's something that we bring up, right? But I promise you on here, that's why I mentioned the term grafted, right? Because we're going to Romans 11 for that, right? Which means that we got to talk about Romans 10:1, right? It's still my prayer that Israel will be saved before we even get to Romans 10:9, which then Romans 10:13 through 16. So anyone who calls upon the Sham or the name of Yahweh or of Adon or of Yeshua Mashiach, they shall be saved. And how can one be saved if they don't believe? How can one believe if they haven't heard? How can one hear if it's not being preached? How can one preach it if they're not sent of the Most High? For how beautiful are the feet of those that walk in the way. Therefore, who shall believe our report? But even still, not all Israel is Israel. Chapter before that, Hebrews chapter 9, verse 6. Even though after that, we have to be the teachers of it, of course, which takes us to Revelation 7, that Israel must be sealed before everybody else can be who's grafted in can be sealed as well. Because just like Paul says, once again, in Romans chapter 11, verse 1 and 2, should we say that just because Israel is not the only people that can get of this, that Israel no longer matters? Elohim forbid. So I'm with you on that, right? Long story short, because that can become something too. It's like, oh, I didn't hear you make sure that Israel. Yeah, of course. I'm on, right? But today we're talking about fasting from Rome. And so, of course, we got to start bringing up scripture. I just wanted to go through that because people are, oh, so you didn't make sure you preached the one that, yeah. I told this to the preachers before. The worst person to try and preach in front of is preachers or people who know it, because they all tell you how they would have preached it. And I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying it's something we do. it's that preacher in us. It's like, man, if I took that thing, I would have said blah, blah, right? I can't help it. I do it myself. So you got to make sure, for the people who know the word, you got to make sure that you tell them, I know what you're talking about. I know where you're going. But I'm glad that somebody's standing up for our culture. I'm on, right? So, and all these things that are going on, nothing to apologize for, Tori. I don't even think I was talking. I don't even think it was your comment that I saw. So I think it was somebody else's, but yeah, regardless though, we appreciate it. Thank you for the questions, right? I'm just answering the question back. So but you got to get to a place to where we recognize and we realize that we are so into romantic. I want you to do what Roman poor people did, because they couldn't afford lights, and every once in a while they'd be able to have a candle. And since they could have a candle, they could just have a candlelight. Since they could afford a candlelight dinner once in a while, I like the people going on a candlelight dinner. It's so romantic, but it has nothing to do with your relationship. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, you have to buy into the system. You have to buy into the system. You have to buy into Roman and be in Roman. So you can win in Rome, you can do what the Romans do. You have to buy into it. Right? You have to be colonized in the mind before you can be colonized in the heart. But once it's in your heart, you're colonized in everything that you live. For a colonized child comes from a colonized, or goes to a colonized school. A colonized school is filled with colonized children. A bunch of colonized children become a bunch of colonized adults. A bunch of colonized adults become a bunch of colonized laborers. A bunch of colonized laborers become a bunch of colonized managers. A bunch of colonized managers get a bunch of colonized degrees. A bunch of colonized degrees come together to give you a bunch of colonized masters. A bunch of colonized masters come together to give you a few colonized doctors who write out the program. And then all of them have colonized children that continue to do the same thing. Right, we're repeating a process, and you guys will be the one to tell me that Einstein said to repeat the same thing, getting the same result over and over again, is the definition of insanity. You said females ain't having that with candles. You telling me there aren't women that like candlelit dinners, and men for that matter? That's interesting. Okay, maybe some are. This is obviously, there's exceptions to every rule, but we're talking about a cycle of things that people are still doing with Roman values. Why is it that you like gladiatorial sports? You said with not Taco Bell or pizza? Well, getting something that's cheap in value for food, and not actually eating food that the people who can afford to eat real food that's Roman as well. So if you're talking about you want to go ahead and you're looking for a girl who's trying to eat unhealthy, then you get what you ask for. But if you're looking for a queen, then you got to be a king. King, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So if your mindset is, if you're looking for the girl, see, there's even a lot of men, because once again, a lot of you guys are romanticizing that. Remember, the romantic man is somebody who's more concerned about what men think about him than what his wife does, because his wife is just only supposed to be for childbearing and to represent him. So if you're looking for if you got a romantic mindset, like there's a, and I'm not saying this is your thing, but I'm going to go here because some of what you're saying kind of stems, it stems from this, right? You got this thing of a high value man in your mind. You want to be an alpha male. You said you ask yourself that now. You grew up watching them with your father, and they're very violent. Yeah, right. Gladiatorial sports, right? But see, watch this. When you're talking about, I can only come from context of our people. I'm giving you context of Romans, but now I got to introduce some context of our people, right? Of my tribe, of my people, of what we do, what we uphold with our culture. If I'm going to be honest about it, right? If I'm going to be honest about it, you got a bunch of people who are trying to be high value men, alpha males. Alpha is Greek, just like a bunch of these males are part of fraternities. Fraternities are Greek. It ain't got nothing to do with us. So your fraternal values, even your fraternal twins, you're talking about a different culture, right? But your fraternal values, right? It being a brotherhood, it being a brethren, your sorors, they come from a different value system. Yes, they do. You can act like, no, they don't do, no, like they're boule. They come from a different value system. They're supposed to keep others in line, and they in themselves will therefore be rewarded for keeping others in line. They keep others in line. See, we go, oh, cool. Well, if you're part of this fraternity, that means that you're going to take care of people as part of your fraternity. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you know what you will do? You will make sure that you exclude other people. If somebody from your fraternity comes up and somebody else from somebody else's fraternity comes up, or somebody from your fraternity comes up and somebody who's not part of a fraternity at all comes up, what are you going to do? You're going to hire the person for your fraternity. You're supposed to do that. That's what you signed up for. But your people might need some help, and that person in the fraternity might not be quite as qualified, but you'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Same thing that you say that shouldn't happen to you because you're black. And you do the same thing in your relationships. You want to treat your African queen or your tribal lady, right? You want to treat them the same way that somebody else who demeans her treats her. And then you want your queen or your tribal chieftain, who might be chieftain, supposed to be chieftain like you, but your tribal queen, you want to treat her the same way that the oppressor does, and then you want her to be able to bow down to you the way she bows down to the oppressor. Problem is that she has to reverse her nature to do so. That's what Willie Lynch told you when he set it up in the first place. He said, if we train women to become strong and independent because they've seen their man killed in front of us and ripped apart in front of us, he said, if we can do that long enough in front of her, what will happen is she will reverse her nature and she will become strong and independent. And just like a female horse, she will eat out of our hand, and she will train her children to be in reverse to where she will be. So now you've had a big backlash, but instead of us as brothers being against the system, we've now come against our own sister. You're keeping up the Deuteronomy 28 curse. Come on, Sister Tamara. Right? We decided to go against the people who's lynching we decided while our woman is being lynched and we're hanging next to her, we're yelling at her saying that she's terrible. And she's lynched, standing and hanging next to us. And while we're sitting there struggling, we're looking at each other. She's looking at us and we're looking at her. And we're both saying, you know what? I should be just with a white man. White man, at least they got good credit, which means they're in debt, right? Well, you know what? At least if I had been with a woman, I'd be struggling here. If I'd been with a white woman, but they end up like becoming Karens and doing stuff. I'm not saying all, but I'm just saying, but you'd be so quick to be against each other while you're hanging. Because you want to get a white woman who's still mistreated. She's just mistreated in a different way. And then she'll mistreat you because she's coming out of abuse. See, anybody who comes out of abuse will abuse you because abuse is abnormal usage. When you get married to somebody, you got to talk not only about the things that are great about them, you got to be honest about the abuse that you come out of so that you'll know how to help them to heal through the abnormal usage. But you don't want to heal. You want to be a king. But kings heal. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Kings heal. Can't be a king, and I can't heal nothing. Can't be a queen, and you can't heal nothing. Kings heal. Yahweh has come to heal your land. Part of being a king. You don't want to hear. See, in Rome, they take your land. But a king, he heals your land. I've come that the captives might be set free. Amen. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I've come to set the captives free. That's what he said. But see, he come in and he says, I can't stay in the world, but I've set a bridge there. I've shown you that there's something different on the other side. If you decide to leave, you can come on in and I will heal your land. When you leave where you are and discover who you are, what is yours shall be healed. Come on, somebody, right? He's come here to what? To heal your land. Yeah, some people just want to lead people, but you're not even supposed to be a leader of people. You're supposed to be a leader of environments. Anybody who feels like they got to be in leadership over people and everybody got to do whatever they tell them to do, you are somebody who's a narcissist. The Most High says, if you would like to do this, I got something that's going to be greater than anything you could experience, but only if you would like to do it. That's how his word works. If, then if. If thou shalt hearken diligently into the voice of Yahweh Elohim to do, to obey towards doing all the things that you observed, right? Then shall I set you on high. Then shall I put you above all nations, but only if you hearken diligently to the voice of Yahweh Elohim. That's how kingdoms work, right? If you want to come in, you can, but you know you have to follow regulations to be in the kingdom. If you want to be part of capitalism, you can. You just got to follow regulations, including being a slave. If you're okay with being a slave, you can be $1 million slave. No problem. We'll work you until you die at 21. Remember, we started off trying to make sure that you recognize that what you know as gangs are usually all started by governments. And if they're not started by governments, the government will get control over them. That's the way your gangs work. That's why all your gangs have informants. I know you don't want to hear that, but all your gangs have informants. Some of your boys that you grew up with, they are informants. They are the very rats that you hate. My boy would never rat me out until somebody say, you a rat him out or we're going to give you 100 years. My boy would never be a rat on the street until you find out that they already said that we'll give him 100 years. Sometimes they'll threaten that if he don't rat on you, they'll give you a worse sentence. So he thinks by ratting on you, he's going to help you. See, you're in a gang and don't realize governments control gangs. Isn't it interesting? All these rappers who are willing to rap about stuff that they've done on the street, you think that none of them will tell the feds about what they've done on the street? Every single rapper, none of them ever ratted. Are you serious? Y'all got mad at Tekashi because he's one of the ones that wasn't strong enough in the street to not publicly make such a big deal. But remember, see, really the only reason it was is because he made his business public. And thank you for the love. If his business had been behind, then you wouldn't have necessarily known all that stuff. But he put all the stuff out there on social media, so y'all knew what was going on. How you doing, Sister Helen? Right? You guys knew what was going on, but that's the only reason. But there's a bunch of these cats out here. You think T.I. and his wife was messing around with that slave girl that they had or whatever, supposedly, allegedly, but messing around with these slave women and stuff like that and beating them down and basically, raping them and doing all this stuff to them? You think that they were doing those things? And like T.I. wasn't doing nothing else? You think see, here's the wild part to me, is that if you're willing to take somebody's life, I need you to comprehend, if you're willing to take somebody's life, there ain't too much more that you're not willing to do to somebody. Yeah, they do that now in the songs, right? Like, that's how people get caught up on these RICO charges and stuff. They be looking for song lyrics, right? I forget who it is. It's not Irv Gotti. Irv Gotti tried to say that 50 was a snitch because one of their boys or something like that ended up whatever. And they looked to 50's song, but 50 never put anything in the song. But the dude had messed up and basically put some stuff out there. So the people used it to be able to like corner him. They tricked him by saying 50 put it in the song to get the guy to start blabbing his mouth. How you doing, Philip? Right. So like people don't know. Like these are informants. Do you know? Watch this. Watch this. See, this is how wild this Roman system is. That's why you got to fast from. You got to separate from it. Remember, fast to Psalm means that I'm separating from something, so that I can use the fisherman's hook to be able to fish things out of the water, the blood, and the spirit. That's the Avda mindset. That's the Hebrew mindset. Right? That's the Hebrew mindset of it. Okay. You haven't separated enough. Do you not know that Mussolini is against the United States of America during World War II, all that, right? In World War I? You guys know that, right? Everybody know that? The same Mussolini that was trying to take over North Africa, you guys know he was against America, right? Everybody know that? Are we all on the same page? I just want to make sure before we go into what we're about to go next, right? So is everybody aware that Mussolini was against the United States of America and the Axis powers, right? World War II, right? The Axis powers were who? Germany, Italy, and Japan. Italy really ain't do much, but you know, those were supposed to be the Axis powers, right? Okay, now that we've established that, you ready? Here's the next part. You ready? Now that we've established that, here's the next part. Mussolini was not against the United States of America because Mussolini was an FBI informant. Right? This is how jacked up they be. Thank you for the love. Right? Everybody, because that's what they taught us in school, right? Mussolini was part of the Axis powers. He was evil. He was an informant for the United States of America, which meant that anything that he was doing on the opposite side, supposedly against America, he did it because America said do it. That's how he became the ruler. He actually became the ruler because he was such a great informant. Right? The Roman government, the Roman mindset, where they taught you in school how you believing that the powers that are against you are really against you when they work for the power that's really against you. In high places, spiritual wickedness in high places. They play in chess and we out here trying to figure out checkers. There are pawns that are necessary to keep the king in place. Pawns can be removed. That's true patriarchy. Everything on the board doesn't matter except the king. That's true patriarchy. And don't you forget it. Talking about everybody hates the North Korean dictator. Everybody hates the North Korean dictator. The North Korean dictator spends billions upon billions of dollars every year to make sure that he gets caviar and stuff like that. How in the world do you think that everybody hates North Korea and they letting them spend billions and billions of dollars? Didn't they put a trade embargo around Ghana to make sure that we couldn't put out cocoa beans so they could go ahead and the people would be against Kwame Nkrumah and kick him out? But the dictator of North Korea, who they tell you they hate, is eating caviar, has children on the street. There's videos out there. You want to look at them. Children's on the street where literally they are missing arms and legs, hoping that they can scrounge you for food. I'm not talking about 10-year-olds, which would be bad enough. I'm talking about 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds, trying to figure out how to live. No parents, digging through trash, hoping that they'll have enough garbage to eat to make it another day. But the dictator's living like that, and he's eating food that comes from your countries. How in the world is he your enemy if you're an American citizen, if American citizens are feeding him and letting those people starve? You got to start asking some questions, because they'll put a trade embargo. They'll kill Gaddafi because Gaddafi wants to make some money that doesn't have anything to do with the West, and it's going to make Western money look like nothing in this country. So they'll kill him and use Obama to do it. But they'll make sure that North Korean God, supposedly, right? That's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be a deity, a spirit. They say that they make sure he eats and eats well. They'll let Dennis Rodman, bring a bunch of players over there. Drunk Dennis Rodman. Remember that whole fiasco, if you know about that, and how bad Dennis Rodman was really looking, one of the worst moments in his life. And he went over there. They let Dennis Rodman bring a bunch of people over there. Oh, don't forget about the father of the dictator who's there now in North Korea. Remember, y'all who like wrestling, y'all might not know this, right? But I used to be a wrestling fanatic, so I got a lot of wrestling history in my brain. And I remember that there were a bunch of wrestlers that went over there and fought in North Korea. In front of the biggest crowd that's ever been for a wrestling event, for a professional wrestling event, the biggest crowd for this gladiatorial sport that you call professional wrestling, the biggest crowd that ever existed was in North Korea. And it was Ric Flair over there. It was WCW over there. Y'all remember, some of y'all know about WCW. That was who was in North Korea. What's up, House? What's up, Casa? Hola casa. Right? That's who was over there. But they're going to tell you and I that that's your enemy. See, one thing I learned in the military that I hold dear, but now I hold it for my people instead of for the corporation. But one thing they taught me was to defend, right? To support and defend the Constitution. But that's for and defend the Constitution of my people. They had me support and defend the Constitution of the United States Corporation. But I've learned how to support and defend our Constitution, support and defend our Constitution. I've learned how to support and defend this Constitution from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. If the people that live here are the people that are feeding North Korea, then the people that live here, they're my enemy. That's how that works. Supposedly, but they got you thinking that's not what you do. Yeah, they're in bed with China, of course, right? You can't not be in bed with China, but your president, right? For those of you that are still U.S. citizens, your president makes a bunch of money from China. By the way, if you don't like this president, your president before him, Trump, while he was saying China, 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 all his stuff was made in China. But if you don't like that, you got to still think even before that Mitch McConnell, right? It don't matter what party it is. Mitch McConnell, he's married to a woman who's Chinese. And somebody say, oh, you're being racist there. No, because that woman who's Chinese is the daughter of a rich billionaire Chinese tycoon who is a communist, who is anti-America. How is his daughter married into the United States corporation? You know that the Senate is basically a board. The Senate is the board. The president is in the role of president. He's not even CEO, right? But he's the president. And then everybody in the Senate are board members over this corporation called the United States. How do you marry into the board of the corporation of the United States and then say that you have no business with China? As my wife just put up, you're in the Ukraine right now. You got all these people in Germany or wherever it is that they're all putting all these soldiers and stuff like that and sailors and Marines and all this stuff getting ready to go into this war. But guess what? The people who are funding the war for Russia and funding the war for Ukraine are people who are funding everything that America does anyways. Your enemy is in a place to where they're playing chess while you learn how to play checkers. You're focused on the Ukraine, right? And by the way, right, people don't have running water in Mississippi. People still being poisoned in water in Michigan. People still haven't had any retribution happen for when they stole all the money from the poor folk in Mississippi. There's people in the streets right now, Skid Row, Cali. There's people in H-Town trying to figure out who they need to rob to try and make it because there ain't nothing there. There's people in Louisiana that still are trying to recover from a flood that happened not just a couple years ago, but several years ago, right? But you about to go to Ukraine? And you're going to vote for these people again because you like to vote, because you think that voting matters, because you've been taught that your straw man matters, which means if your straw man votes, then obviously things will happen, but your straw man is a slave. And even the people that they're sending over from Ukraine, by the way, isn't it interesting that if you're African, they tell you that once you get over to the United States of America, we're going to fly you back, or they just say we're going to fly you straight to Africa. But if you're at the Ukraine, you can come on in. Why? Because the people who are up top, who have ownership over you, they're playing you. I mean, there's a lot of Ukrainians that are still Russian, sure. USSR. Doesn't make it that hard to just recognize that, right? But hear what I'm saying. They're telling you you don't know the game. This is chess. Protect the king at all costs. Pawn is Russia, no problem. Pawn is Ukraine, no problem. Pawn is a soldier's life, no problem. Pawn is the word of Yah, no problem. Pawn is your marriage, no problem. Like whatever it takes to make sure the king of this wicked system is going to continue to be the king as long as he can remain, he will do so. That's why they kill that's why families kill their own family members. Even in our people, Carthage, Hannibal Barca, he kills not only his uncle who's in power, but kills even any family member that can be around to take his power. Why? Because he promised his daddy that he was going to go against Rome. Anybody who's a threat to the throne, if you're in a bad culture, if you're a bad system, if you have a bad mindset, you will kill off anything that's a threat to it. You said, who's the king? In capitalism, he or she that has capital is the king or the queen. That's the way it works. It's not even that difficult to make that happen. The only reason y'all listen to Bill Gates, watch this. Has Bill Gates ever created any technology? Some of y'all got it right away. Has Bill Gates ever created any technology? Why do you think Bill Gates is smart? Not saying he has no intellect, not saying he has no intelligence. Hear what I'm saying? Why do you think that some of y'all think he created technology? I used to for the longest time. It wasn't until probably about the last 5-10 years I realized he didn't really make nothing. But why did we learn that he's made all this stuff? Because he had the capital. Right? Right? What's the golden rule that society says? He who has the gold makes the rules. Salah. Yeah, he paid for it. But we want to listen to him about health issues? Doesn't Bill Gates own hundreds of acres of land? Some people say, well, I'm sorry, not hundreds, thousands of acres of land. And he doesn't make sure anybody is getting fed, but he said that there's an overpopulation problem and we won't be able to feed people soon. He who has the gold makes the rules. You think he who has the money, but money's not real. He who has the gold, he who has the land, he who has the silver, he who has the real food. Real food is medicine, but you go to somebody else who controls the medicine and gives you modified versions of medicine. He who has the gold makes the rules. He who has the land makes the rules. He who's separate from the system. See, even some of these people are telling you support America. They don't live like Americans do. Oh, somebody missed it. Support America. Die for America. Lend your taxes to America. Lend your arms to America. But did you fight in any battles? Or did you run from battles? Trump, did you serve? While calling somebody else a coward, did you serve or did you run away from service? See, I served. Thanks, babe. It's 270. Some people have told me it's like 300,000, but he owns 270,000 acres of land. But see, these cats ain't even serve, but they say serve your country. Does Donald Trump pay taxes? Of course not. And by the way, he should not, and neither should you. But Donald Trump says you should pay your taxes. I'm trying to tell you, this thing is baked in. You're so busy trying to be like the Roman elite that you've missed that they're using Roman antics on you. That's why it's a romanticized system, a romantic system. I'm going to romanticize the place that I'm in rather than realize that who I am is not even Roman. Right? And here what I'm saying is not, I mentioned Republican and Democrat, if you realize, because I don't care about a wicked system. Therefore, I don't care what part of the wicked system that you're trying to be in. It doesn't matter to me. And it shouldn't matter to you because you're not Roman. Right? So if I'm not Roman, what are my values supposed to be now? Yeah, when I'm in Rome, I render Caesar's things to Caesar's. But when I'm not of Rome, I give Elohim's things to Elohim. And your goal should be to be out of the system as much as possible. You can't help it. Every once in a while, you're going to come in contact with the system. But as much as possible, can you come out of it? Right? There's a reason why I like to be in live sessions away from as much as possible, because I'm trying to be out the system. There's a reason why I make sure that I'm moving quite a bit. It's not just only because I like to move, because my family likes to move, because SOC is spreading out as much. Sometimes I need to make sure I'm not in the same place as much, because they don't like when you talk like this. It's only a matter of time before, and it's happened. You get followed. People looking for you. People show up. If I'm in the same place too long, I start seeing same car showing up every time. I see police vehicles showing up, especially when I'm in like Baltimore or DC. Police vehicle will show up same place every single time. Same time when it's about time to start, about an hour in actually, towards doing the live session. Every time. I got to be out the system. You can't speak this and be in the system. And I'm just a little, they would say I'm nobody. So you would think, but why is it that it takes so long for people to be able to find us on TikTok if I'm nobody? See, this is when you got to start realizing who you are. And I'm not trying to say, look at Kofi, look at Kofi. I'm trying to get you to comprehend. There's a reason why they're coming after you. The closer you get to freedom is the closer you get to you. You hear what I'm saying? The closer you get to freedom is the closer you get to you. And that's the worst thing you could be, is free. To be an actual human. Once again, look up the definition of human in Black's Law Dictionary. The actual definition of human is what? Monster. You have to look up the definition of monster to see what a human is according to Western law. I'm not lying to you. It's in the book. It's in the book, y'all. It's in the book. Look in the law, right? If you want to know what a human being is, you have to look up what the definition of a monster is, because a human destroys this wicked system. What is a human? A humus man. Humus, rich, dark, nutrient earth, man with a spirit inside. And what's the only thing that can make the man, the spirit, attached to the humus, the dirt? It is the soul. What does the word soul mean? Even in the Greek, it means psyche, psychology. So if I have the right soul, psychology, that can be connected to the spirit of the Most High, right? And the spirit he puts inside me to connect with my flesh, my body, that I become a living soul. He breathed into Adam and he became a living soul. See, you think that I'm making this stuff up, but it's spiritual. You can't get into sovereignty. You can't get into law. You can't get out of a wicked system and not realize it's spirituality. They're using the Bible against you, whether you believe it or not. That's what you're in. A falsified version, a modified version of biblical doctrine. And all they need you to do is sign away your right. Amen. Friday born also comes from the word quaff, which is really quaff. But yes. Yeah, his mom got on Windows from IBM, from the CEO, which is eugenicist as well. I just found that out. See, you don't comprehend what's going on. You love Rome too much. So when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. You love gladiatorial sports, not because they mean anything, right? I like to keep up with it because I know that's what leads a bunch of our brothers around and a lot of our sisters around as well. But real talk, does it really matter that Michael Jordan or LeBron James is the greatest basketball player to ever live? Is it doing anything for your people? I'm not saying, like, if you hate sports, you hate sports. I don't hate sports. I like watching sports. But I'm saying, does it really matter? Right? Like, you made deities out of it. You call them basketball gods. Some of you have literally said, Chris Paul, the point god. John Morant said, I'm not a point guard. When he was in college coming out, he said, I'm not a point guard, I'm a point god. What? Gods are Germanic anyways. You don't even know the difference between a Netzer and a Eureka or anything else. You don't know Gi and Yame, you don't know Elohim, you don't know you don't know Allah, I'm a point god. You say that all the time. What does it matter? Oh yeah, what does it matter? Yeah. What does it matter? Right? Like, but you have it in your mindset that the same game you could play with your son right now, for whatever reason you think it's better to watch it because somebody's gonna dunk the basketball more, and you live and breathe and die by it. You can go outside. You can do that. It don't take that much. But you got to see Pat Mahomes do it, and you got to support his team, because if you don't support his team and make sure his team can pay him $40-50 million a year, then you guys can't win the Super Bowl. And if you can't win the Super Bowl, he might not become as great as Tom Brady is. And we got to make sure that somebody like him, especially because he's a black quarterback, and it was so great that he was black, and Jaylen Brown was I'm sorry, Jaylen Brown, that's Boston Celtics. Who was it? Jalen, I'm sorry, y'all. Cat from Alabama, plays for the Eagles. I'm sorry, I'm having a moment here, right? But it was so important. You had two black quarterbacks and this and that. And Patrick Mahomes, he's a black quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes don't even want to be black. And I'm not saying, he has to marry a black woman. He's mixed. He can do whatever. And I'm not doing that. But what I'm telling you is, like, y'all are coming up with arguments for these people to support your stuff. Jalen Hurts. That y'all are coming up with stuff to support your fanaticism. To be a fan is to be a fanatic. To be a fanatic you have to have a system of fanaticism. And you will say, don't give to your own community. Don't tithe to your own community. Don't give tribute, but you give tribute to your team all the time. I gotta have the freshest Eagles gear. Right, I'm gonna get that jersey, but I'm gonna get my name put on the back, because I can't have no man's name on my back. What? What are you talking about? Why is it that you still got people? Look, DMV all day. Used to be a fan of them when I was young. All right, had the coloring book and everything from what was it, '92, when the Washington Redskin team won. But why is it that you got a bunch of Redskins, but you know that your people are, in fact, the people they called Redskins, and they called them that because they skinned the dark red off of their scalps, and you still arguing and saying, hey, man, HTTR, for what? Why is it that you want to hail something that says they scalp your people? Oh, well, there's some natives that said, look, they could be $5 Indians for all I'm concerned, and they can be natives. Just like all Israel ain't Israel, all people who went through the struggle don't live like the people who went through the struggle. You got the Kansas City Chiefs. Why is it that y'all sitting up there letting people make money off of your stuff, but you're afraid to be who you are? Like, these are people that would kill you. This is forgive me. Moderators be on point. Moderators be on point for you, boy. Okay, help me out. Forgive me, because I know some of y'all gonna be upset. But do you not see the astounding nature of having an Ashkenazi person who says that you better not ever talk bad about the Holocaust, as if there's no other Holocaust, but you better not ever talk bad about the Holocaust, told y'all that he was not going to allow dark-skinned people to stop having to see themselves be skinned by making sure he didn't keep putting it on product. And everybody backed up the Ashkenazi person against who would tell you, don't ever talk bad about the Holocaust. Everybody backed him up when he said, I'm going to talk bad about y'all and make money off of a name that says it's okay to scalp you. That's what happened, right? But then Kyrie Irving mentioned a link. He didn't even say it's good, it's bad. I watched it. He just put a link up on his Twitter bio, or not a Twitter bio, but on his Twitter feed, put a link up for H2N, and immediately the Jewish community said, take it down, this and that, or whatever. But when our people said, why are you leaving us up? Why are you letting us do this? Hey, nobody cares about that. And they got y'all, the natives of here, they got you guys to support them. And some of y'all still going to support them no matter what I say. Why? Because you're nostalgic. It ain't because it's real. It's because you're nostalgic. You're nostalgic for Rome. Because in Rome, the very people that'll kill you will tell you better not ever come up against them. You're nostalgic for Rome. They're dealing with your nostalgia because you like the Redskins when you were 5 years old means that you can't call them the Commanders or whatever it is. And by the way, I peep it. I get it. That's a terrible name. But I'm just saying, but it's because you're in the gladiatorial sports. This is Roman. And you're not Roman. Stop being what you're not. You are not Roman. You've never been Roman. And if you're trying to be Roman, then you need to come out of that, because you're not European. You're not Eurocentric. Europa literally means anything that belongs to Rome. That's why you like Charlemagne, because he's a German guy who came out of a people who helped defeat Rome, but then said, you know what, the people that we defeated, we actually are the same bloodline, and we're going to lie to you all about that. And you make him to be something. And Charlemagne was uneducated. They say at the most he might have been the third, fourth grade education. He wasn't even that, y'all. He didn't even believe in the Bible, but y'all call him the Christian guy, or Christian king. But once again, that makes sense because Cristianos are different than followers of the way.
but you're Roman. Thank you for the love. And you're about stuff that's romantic. You romanticize these things. How you doing, Brother Jeremy? You can't wait for an opportunity to say that something that happened didn't really happen. You can't wait. You leap for the opportunity to be able to say, no, it's not about that. Oh, no, color doesn't exist. Do you believe in the Most High? If you believe the Most High created color, then maybe it means something to him. No, it doesn't exist. You're taking stuff too far. Why did it exist when it was okay to say that black was on the bottom? But now that I'm saying not black should be better than you, I'm just saying black should be something that you look at and say is just as beautiful as white, which, by the way, white by definition is not even a color. Thank you for the love, right? There's no white person. In order to be a white person, you would have to be dead or to have never existed, because white is the absence of color. White is you can see through it. White is that it's just bright. But white is not a color. Snow is white. That means you can see through it. That means it reflects color. That means you, like, if you see a bunch of snow on the ground, when you see it as white, what you're seeing is there's no color in there. And then every once in a while, you see what dirt and particles and stuff like that. It's reflecting the particles. Snow. A polar bear has white fur. It has clear fur. Look it up. Polar bear fur is not white. It is, in fact, clear. It has black fur underneath the white fur, the clear fur, so that it can go ahead and take light and get as much as it can through. But most of the light doesn't even get through. Praise God that it has fat the way it was created. Right? You said Noah's color. Once again, people try to do that, but once again, the Most High, he created color. He has no problem saying that there's color. He has no problem saying that there's lapis lazuli, that he looks down upon. That's what he sees the earth about. Lapis lazuli, you can tell it by what? A color. So you have to be melanated to live. Melanin means you must have some color. There cannot, therefore, by definition, be any white person. The more colors I mix together, what color do I get? The more colors I mix together, what color do I begin to get? What happens to the colors? They all become what? Darker. So the reason people want you to even say, oh, don't worry about black. We're all actually shades of brown. Don't worry about black. Black's not real black. The reason is because the further back in the story of mankind we all go, the blacker we all get, the darker we all get, because we all came from something dark. You can't have color come out of brownness. You can't have darker colors than brown that came out of brown. May I tell you that again? You can't have darker brown come out of light brown. If I take dark brown paint, right, and dark brown paint, if I take light brown paint and light brown paint, I'm not going to get darker and darker and darker brown. So you can't say that all of us are shades of brown, because that's not how color works. So that's when they have to say, well, color doesn't exist, because it doesn't fit your argument. It doesn't fit your ideal. What is an ideal? IDEAL. What is an ideal? An ideal is something that is made specifically to support a narrative. And for so long, what they taught you was white was better than black. They taught you white was a color. They taught you Linnaean doctrine. They taught you Darwinism as a doctrine, as a system to live by. They taught you the doctrine of discovery, right? They taught you the white man's burden. They did. You have a lost cause rhetoric. And even if you don't know the terminology I'm using, go look it up, right? Literally, the doctrine of discovery, which is what the Pope was using, Rome. The Pope was using that in 1452. And it made it official in 1493. After in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. After in 1491, Queen Elizabeth, after she defeats the last Moorish king, she's able to go ahead and ask the Pope, can they go ahead and make slaves out of Negroes? Negroes, by the way, for them, the way they considered Negroes in Spain and in Portugal, they considered them to be Israelites. That's who they went for, and they called Negroes. And they got that term negro or negra. They got that from an ancient West African way of calling black people on this coast of West Africa. And that's why they eventually went to Negro land. Look it up, the 1700s, map that you can look up right now, right? The federal government, Library of Congress website, you can go on there and look for the map of Negro land, and you'll be able to zoom in. And when you see the slave coast in Nigeria, right, which is right there with the slave coast right there where I've been to it, and you'll see when you zoom in, Nigeria, Ghana, that area, and you'll see on there that the people that are on the bottom of the slave coast, they are called what? They are called the scattered Israelites. The people at the top of the slave coast, it is called the kingdom of Judah. They went there looking for Israelites, Negroes. But you will say that Kyrie is bad, and anybody who supports any of that, they must be a racist. But you don't know the story of mankind. You've never looked at it. It's been romanticized. The term negus or negus or negas or Niger or Niger or all those things is basically just different tribes saying something similar. They're all basically saying that you're a king, you're a prince, you're royalty. So a Niger, a Niger, a negus, and negus, et cetera, we're just saying that you're a prince, you're a king. So even Nigeria, a place of kings, where the kingdom of Judah, right, is, and then later further down where the scattered Israelites are, they're saying the same thing. And then if you want to get into those of you who still want to try and do the genetics to try and tell where you come from, well, if you're talking about blood type, E1B1A, E1B1B. If you're E1B1A, that means you're Israelite. And guess what? A bunch of people in West Africa and the United States and the West Indies and South America, et cetera, guess what a bunch of them have? Because they came from a place, once again, Queen Isabel, 1491, asked permission from the Pope to go and get slaves. That's why they sent Christopher Columbus to the land of Asheroth, which you know today as what? As Haiti, Dominican Republic. They sent him over there looking for slaves. They sent a Hebrew interpreter with Christopher Columbus because they were looking for the land of Asheroth. When you get a chance, go on your Bible. Matter of fact, let's read it. Right? A lot of you don't have a KJVA, or a King James version, even the 1611 King James version. But for those of you who do, right, go or if you can, go to Second Esdras. That's number 2, and then ESDRAS. You're looking for Second Esdras, right? This is outside your 66 books. But as you can see, if you get an original version, even of your King James Version Bible, it would have been in there. Why people tell you shouldn't read something that was originally in the Bible that they still use today is beyond me. But nevertheless, Second Esdras. We're going to go to chapter 13. Well, the natives, you're talking about this, if you're talking about going over the Bering Strait and going to a land where it is, yeah, right? Exactly. Right, so you already know what I'm talking about. Second Esdras chapter 13. By the way, they put this in the movie 1492. If you go look up, there's an old movie called 1492 about Christopher Columbus. They talk about the land of Asheroth because that's what Christopher Columbus told Queen Isabel he could go find, and she told the Pope, and the Pope knew about it because he knew this. You don't know this. I told you, whether you believe in this or not, this is you. They got it in the movie for you, straight up. They know about it. They put it in there and you never thought twice about it. Those of you who saw the movie, you never thought twice. Amen. And Deuteronomy 28, of course, talks about those curses for our people, right? So watch that. Second Esdras chapter 13, right? Second Esdras chapter 13. Uh-oh. Where am I at? Do I have it right place? Hold on. I might be in the wrong place. Uh-oh, I'm in the wrong place, I think. Maybe it's First Esdras. Oh gosh. Oh no. I'm not in the right verse. My bad, Joe. Sorry. My mistake. I think I'm correct. Second Esdras chapter 13, verse 40 through 45. We're gonna read this real quick. Okay, you ready? Second Esdras chapter 13, verses 40 through 45. Here we go. You ready? Watch this. Those are the 10 tribes. Who are we talking about? 10 tribes. Sorry, I can't do 10. 10 tribes. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away. So you got to do some research. You got to read back at the beginning of chapter 13. We're just going to start here at verse 40 for you, though. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. Okay? So these are 10 tribes. Now you got to know the story of this. You got to know where we are in the timeline, right? Even your Bible, it's outside of even within the 66 books will support what we're saying, right? So, peep game, you had 10 tribes, right? And in these 10 tribes, you had, so what happens in the Bible is you have all 12 tribes have come into Canaan, all that, right? And land has been given by Joshua, right? Same Joshua we were talking about a lot yesterday. Land has been given by Joshua by order of the Most High, and it's been distributed to all these different tribes and families. Levites aren't allowed to have any land, so when they do what they're supposed to do in the Levitical priesthood, they're allowed to live wherever certain tribes have set aside for Levites. Everybody else, you got land, right? Eventually, it becomes a fight where the lineage of Judah is acting a fool. So then they take Judah, who's one tribe or whatever. They decide to take Judah, who's one tribe, and and they leave Judah alone in the southern, what they call the southern kingdom. 11 tribes, all the other 11 tribes leave. Problem happens though, because the 11 tribes leave and they put some kings and stuff in place, and the kings say, well, we're not going to really obey what the Most High said through his servant Joshua. So now they basically take Levitical land away. So the Levites, who were never supposed to be allowed to have land, now have any land, now have no land. Okay. So now the Levites are like, yo, this is jacked up. And they end up leaving. Some of them stay, some of them leave. Right. So you kind of got 1.5 tribes versus 10. And then eventually the Benjamites are like, we out too. So you pretty much have like the Benjamites and Judah, and then you got a mixture of Levi. So when they say 10 tribes, you can think more like 9.5. Some of the Levites stayed, and 2.5. Some of the Levites went back, right? But either way, it says these are the 10 tribes, okay? I just want to put that out there. So at this point, we're dealing with basically Benjamin, Judah, or on the bottom, right? Judah meaning praise, the fourth son, and it's the first child that actually is the first tribe that's mentioned in Revelation chapter 4 when Israel must first be sealed. Judah meaning praise, the fourth child, right? Born of Leah. And then you have the 12th child, the last son, right? The 13th child, really, excuse me, but the last son of Israel, of Jacob, right? And he's going back down, and then you have some mixture of Levites who have came back and forth, right? So when it said that's what it's talking about, that's the context of these 10 tribes. So those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osiah, the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. And so came they into another land. Okay, so the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom, they were taken away, right? I said Rachel, Leah. I'm sorry, Leah. No, Leah. Yeah, so Leah was Judah's mother. Rachel was Benjamin's mother. Rachel actually died giving birth to Benjamin. Okay, so yeah, so Leah gave birth to Judah. And then Rachel gave birth to Benjamin, right? And that's why Rachel actually named him something different than Benjamin. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but basically she was dying while giving birth. So she named him something basically talking about her despair she was in. But then Judah came in and basically renamed him to be able to like give honor to his life. Yeah, she named him after her sorrow, her despair she was in, right? Okay, so these are the 10 tribes. The ones that are left over now are the ones who were led out, is what we're talking about. These 10 tribes are the ones who were led out. Now, verse 41 of 2nd Esther, chapter 13. But they took this counsel amongst themselves. So they came amongst themselves after they were led out. They came amongst themselves after they were let out. They did what? They had a conversation after they were let out, right? All right. After they ended up being caught by the Assyrians and all that stuff, after they ended up being gone, they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen. They fasted. What are we talking about? What's the series? Fasting. What are we talking about today? You got to fast from Rome. You got to fast from this mindset. You got to fast from this ridiculous stuff that's being put out there, right? So what did they do? They fasted. What did they do? They fasted. What did they do? They fasted. Okay. All righty. So they fasted from these things. All right. So verse 41, but they took this counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. So they said, we're rolling out. We're not going to stay here. And we're looking for a place where nobody lives. That's the goal, is to go somewhere where nobody lives. That was the goal. Is to what? To go somewhere where nobody lives. Okay. So they got captured. They realized we got to fast from this heathen mentality, and let's not go back to where we used to be. That's not what they said. Let's not go back to Israel. That's not what they said. Let's not go back to this place. Because remember, it's not where you are from, it's who you are from. They didn't say we take as much note in where we are from. They said we take note in who we are from. And thanks, babe, for the reminder. We're doing a daily fast right now, right? Intermittent fasting. We're doing it all the way through right now, all the way through Thursday on Thursday evening, right? So they said we're going to go away from where we were. We're going to go away from where we are around the heathen, and we're going to become who we're supposed to be. Thank you for the love. Now, how do we see that? How you doing, Short Circuit, if I didn't say so already? All right, so how do we see this? How do we see this? Well, verse 42, it says they're going away, where a place where mankind never dwelt. Verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes. Now, remember we talked about statutes last night, right? A statute. Anybody remember what a statute is? A statute is something that's supposed to keep you in order, right? It's a law. It protects you. That's what a statute is. Even though everybody says you shouldn't be about law, a statute is a law. Right? In this system, it would be a fake law, right? A fake law. But see, a statute is supposed to be a law. In this wicked system, you have fake statutes. You have heathen statutes. Right. So in this system, when they say statute, it looks like law, but it's not really. Because in this system, technically, there's only 3 laws, right? As long as you don't hurt nobody, as long as you don't kill, as long as you don't hurt from anybody, steal from anybody, or lie to anybody, you should be fine. Everything else is a statute. Those are the only 3 laws that matter in their in their system, in the earth system. Everybody pretty much agrees that, hey, you shouldn't hurt anybody, you shouldn't steal from anybody, you shouldn't lie to anybody. Everything else is a statute. For us, all statutes are something that comes from something that's actually real. See, statutes for them are modified laws to get you to agree with a wicked system. So that's why they said in verse 42 now, they said they want to go somewhere where they might keep their statutes. Were they going to keep everybody else's statutes? Right? Well, destruction of property, they consider you to be property if you're a slave. So if you destroy property, guess what it is? Right? If you're a slave, if you're in debt, you're a slave. If you're a slave and you're in debt, that's how law works. So if you're in debt because you're a slave, then that means that you're property. If you're property, if somebody hurts you, they hurt property. That's where it's a law against hurting property, because you're hurting what's owned by somebody else. You think that when they hurt you, they're hurting you. No, they're hurting something that belongs to something else. That's why somebody else besides you, see, you're dead, but somebody besides you comes on your behalf to say that you belong to them as a people or as property. In the kingdom, the Most High says what? Cain's blood. Cain, what did you do to your brother? Cain says, am I my brother's keeper? He says, Cain, Abel's blood is crying up from the ground. Why? Because I consider Abel to be my people, so I'm going to protect him. Don't give me a false statue, Cain. I know what you did. Right? This is how this stuff works. We just don't know any better. Praise y'all for this word. This is excellence right here. This is awesome. This is awesome right here. So watch this. So verse 41. So they took counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Verse 42, that they might keep their statutes. That they might keep their statutes. Not everybody else's. They said we're going to be private. We're done with being public. We're done with dealing with the heathen. We're done even with dealing with some of the stuff we were doing where we actually come from. We need to get back to who we are. Let's go somewhere where nobody else is. So it says that they might keep their statutes, and which they never kept in their own land. Problem is that even when they were in their own land, they never kept them because they keep getting out of pocket. So if they were to go back where they keep getting out of pocket, wouldn't they have the same issue? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result, why would you keep going back to get the same result? You keep getting locked up. You're locked up by this group and this group and this group and this group. After some time, this is not worth it anymore. We got to do something different. We got to do something different. Yeah, it's all commerce. Yeah. All right, Sister Betty, you be safe out there. So they went somewhere different. They went somewhere else. They looked for something different. Right? And as they looked for something different, what does it say? And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. Right? For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood until they were passed over. He held still the flood. Where are we talking about? Where are we talking about? Where did he hold still the flood? They went up the Euphrates, they went up, and they went where? Where's the flood? Where did they have to go where there was no water, or where there usually would be water, but it was held back? They walked on dry land too. Now, there's two ways you can look at this. There's two ways you can look at this. And I'm be honest with you, I'm not 100% on either way. I'm just going to give you information, do some research for yourself. Sometimes the best answer is I don't know, right? I'll tell you which one I lean towards, but sometimes you just got to be honest. Sometimes I don't know. It's either talking about them going into Africa, right? Or what you deem as Africa, because technically Africa wasn't even considered to be what you consider Africa to be. It was considered to be more vast, and it wasn't even called Africa, but nevertheless. We're either talking about what you think of as Africa, but there's problems with that, especially when you're dealing with where they would have had to go, especially if they're looking for a land that nobody lives in. Sounds like it's flooding here. Right? So that one I have a tough time with, even though I know people will say, well, the Euphrates River. Remember, the Euphrates River is something different than what we think about. Remember, there's many different river systems, many different connections, and Euphrates River by some was considered to be the biggest river to ever exist. And it went into places that you guys, we don't think about anymore, right? It doesn't say that they stayed on the Euphrates River. It said they used the Euphrates River to go up. So what I see, this is one I lean towards, is that I'm not saying 100% no. I'm just saying the facts that I've seen so far, the things that I've learned, the people I've sat under, this is usually the best thing that I've seen come up with, okay? So just just putting that out there, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying I'm 100% on this. I'm not saying this is something that could be 100% proven, although there's a lot of artifacts that can prove it. But I can't say I'm 100% on this, okay? Just putting this out there. What most of us lean towards is that they went up into Russia, because you'll actually see Russia around that time becomes an Israelite nation for about 400 years. And what more than likely happened is they kept going up that route and they get to a place called the Bering Strait. Now, this is something where literally Russia and Alaska, right? So what you think of Alaska as being American now, but remember, it didn't belong to America for the longest, or what you consider the United States of America. You have Russia and Alaska, which it's been proven, at least scientifically, it seems to be, that there are animals that used to be able to go down when the water went down on the Bering Strait. There were animals that could go ahead and go down and eat. And there were also people that would go down there, eat off the land, and they would sojourn back and forth across from what you now call Russia to what you now call Alaska. And when you look down there, you'll even see a lot of Hebrew artifacts with Hebrew writing. So what seems to have happened is that they went north. They went across what you call Russia. They stayed there for a minute, but they said, we still haven't kept our promise. We got to go somewhere where nobody lives. And they went all the way across the Bering Strait. And what normally would be flooded with water from time to time, instead of the water rising back up, it's saying here that the Most High allowed the floods to stay down. They might be able to come to the other side of it, right? And then once they got to the other side, the water came back up. Now in verse 45, for through that country, there was a great way to go. It was going to take a long time to get from where they were as slaves to get over to this country to walk, especially with all those people. Namely, of a year and a half. So they're saying it would take about a year and a half for them to be able to take all those people and walk from where they were over the Bering Strait into Alaska, Canada, eventually United States of America, and spread from there. And then eventually at some point start mixing and matching cultures. Now, and it says, and the same region is called Arsareth or Ashara, some of us say, right? That's what that region is called. How you doing, King Son? So it's telling you that the 10 tribes. See, when you see Yahshua on the scene, Yahshua HaMashiach, or who you call Yeshua, or you call Yahushua, etc. When you see Yahshua HaMashiach on the scene, he's not there with the 10 tribes. That's why when they went and he talked to the woman at the well, and they were having that study about where Yah was, but also about racism, because they called them dogs, and they said that they were half-breeds and they weren't real Israelites, because the 10 tribes never came back. So Assyrians and others began to live in the area, and some of the Israelites, and they mixed together. The Israelites that were Judah and Benjamites in a Levitical bloodline, they didn't like people mixing and matching with anybody. So therefore, anybody that was up there, a Samaritan was not somebody that didn't have any Israelite blood. A Samaritan was somebody who had only a little bit of Israelite blood in their eyes. So that's why they're having the conversation. Yahshua is like, hey, if you knew who I really was, you would get past the fact that I was an Israelite, you would have asked me for water. And then he says it doesn't matter which direction. He says, we know what we're talking about, because, yeah, we are two different people technically. But he said at the end of the day, there's coming a time where that's not going to matter as much, because we need to worship Elohim, and because he's a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit, right? In Ravak, at Amat, in spirit and in truth. How you doing, Bantu? You said on foot we had no cars back then, only boats and feet. But yeah. So that's why if you look at it, it even tells you how long it would take. They say it might take you about a year and a half. You see? So like there's a lot of stuff that's out there. But once again, if we don't separate enough to be able to see that, we got to separate from a culture of church. Oh, that's gonna mess with somebody. And I'm not here to say everybody that goes to church is evil either. But hear what I'm saying? You got to separate from a church culture. Do you know what the word church comes from? Do you know what the word church, what the root word of church is? Do you know? Oh, they don't like this. They don't like this, Holy Spirit. Yeah, it comes from the root word cirque, which means you're dealing with a circus. That's what the church is. They wrote the word church in. When the Bible was originally written, there was no word. They didn't use the word church. You were a follower of the way. You were not a Christian. You were not a Christianos, or you were part of an assembly. You were part of a Quatasham. You were not part of a cirque. You were not part of a church. You were not part of a circus. That's real talk. But people don't like that, because if you talk like that, then you have to realize that I've been part of a culture that's designed to have me looking at 3 rings and not pay attention to the ringmaster, and the ringmaster ain't really saying nothing but just saying, look at this ring, and 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 look at the trapeze, ooh, and look back, and you're not getting anything that's helping advance your life, and you'll pay for it. So you can pay for it. Somebody catch that last part. You'll pay for it, so you can pay for it. You'll pay great money to get great seats. I tithe, so I should get better seats in the afterlife than you do. That's very Roman. Oh, it's a gladiatorial sport. They brought the gladiatorial sport inside the arena, inside your church. That's why Yahshua said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. It's supposed to be a knocking ceremony. That means that when he knocks, the bride is supposed to be on the other side, inside with her parents, waiting for him to come back so that he can come in with his representation and we can see as witnesses the glory of 2 people getting ready to become one. Instead, he's knocking on you, and y'all sitting there dancing, right? And he knocking, though. He knocking. Hallelujah. All right? He's knocking. You waiting. Finally, just like I guess they don't want to be married to me. Seem like they're having a great old time in there with Cirque. Seem like they're having an excellent time. But he said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. See, it's culture. You got to separate from this culture long enough to realize he's not saying I'm knocking just to get in. He's saying I'm looking for my bride. That's Matthew chapter 25. You're supposed to have oil in your lamps and be ready so that when he comes in. But instead, you're not ready because you. I'm looking for you to get married to you. I showed up. You know, we got a contract. We had the knocking ceremony. I'm supposed to come back for you. This time when I'm knocking, it's coming so that we can have the ceremony because we're supposed to go knock some boots. That's the knocking ceremony. I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's what it is, right? We're supposed to become married. Marriage is sex. Sex is marriage in our culture. But you so busy dancing that I came by and you dancing with the enemy. You dancing with the dude who tried to get you to sleep with him. You dancing with the whore of Babylon. I'm not saying you can't dance at all. Dance out your clothes, as long as I don't have to see you get naked, but dance out your clothes and be like David for all I care, right? But I'm saying don't be so busy dancing that you can't hear the knocking. It's time. I'm coming back. The first time I knocked, it was to make sure that we were going to be married. Second time I knocked is to see if you got oil in your lamp. Beloved, that means David, David, Judah. Beloved, let not your heart be troubled. If you believe in the Father, also believe in me. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. If it was not so, I would not have told you. I go as your husband, right? I'm already qualified as a husband. When I found you, you were a wife already. You're going to go prepare yourself. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. The mansion is an add-on to what my Father has already built. If it was not so, I would not have told you. I go. I'm getting ready to leave this system and prepare a place for you outside of it, that where I am, there shalt thou be also. Praise y'all for this rain. Y'all know when it rains in our culture, that means that Yahweh is getting ready to implant something. It only rains where you've been obedient. So I love the rain. Praise y'all. Right? It's cultural. This thing is deeper than what you're thinking it is. It's cultural. As long as you guys can still hear me. Can y'all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? It's picking up. They didn't even, it wasn't even supposed to rain like this today, but it is what it is. Can y'all hear it? Can you hear? Okay. Con? I'm on. Right? So hear what I'm saying. We might have to stay out here a little longer. If it's gonna rain, like, well, I can't really walk in this anyway. It's bad. So it's all gravy. I'm right. So you got to be in a position. You have to be in a position where you come out of Rome. You got to fast from Rome. You got to come out of this. Matter of fact, let's be obedient. It's raining, right? Let's go ahead and be obedient. Let's go to Malachi. Let's go to Malachi. Hallelujah. Let's go to Malachi. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. Let's baptize. Let's submerge in this. Let's do what we're supposed to do. There's rain. There's so much rain. It's at my feet. I'm gonna try to show y'all. I can't really, right? You see, this is. I don't know if y'all can see it or not. I'm trying to point at it. It's everywhere. Praise y'all. It's everywhere. Praise y'all. Hallelujah. We up in it. I try to show y'all on YouTube, and it's everywhere. Praise y'all. We gonna let it roll. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. Praise y'all. But we gonna let it roll. Right? We gonna stay right here in it. Amen. Hallelujah. Y'all ready? This is I wasn't playing. I didn't even. Okay, let me be obedient. Let's go. I see you. Yeah, true. It's not cold out here, which is interesting, but it's definitely raining. Right? But let's go ahead, right? Let's go to Malachi. Let's see what rain really is supposed to do. How you doing, Sister Deborah? Thank you for the love. Appreciate you. Let's go to Malachi. Last book of what y'all call, some of us still call the Old Testament. Malachi. Last book of what some people still call the Old Testament, if you're not aware. So if you know where Matthew is, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, just go back one book. We're going to go to, and thank you for the love. Appreciate you. We're going to go to Malachi chapter 3. We got to be obedient. I hear you. I hear you. Ooh. Let's look at what rain does. Oh, my greatness. I wasn't even ready. I forgot all about this first verse. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was not prepared to hit this first verse. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all got it? Malachi chapter 3. I'm excited now. Let's go. Let's go. I got just a little bit more water, so I don't know how long I'm going to be before I start doing a little coughing on y'all, but we're going to get this in. You ready? Malachi chapter 3. Malachi chapter 3. Malachi chapter 3, verse 1. First verse says, behold. Behold means pay attention. Behold. Behold, I will send my messenger. Woo! Yahweh, I don't know what you're about to do today, but it's about to be great. Let's get it. at Amat, at Sham. Okay. Behold, I will send my messenger. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. This is talking about Yahshua HaMashiach. He sent me as a messenger today, but it's really about Yahshua HaMashiach. We're thinking this is Old Testament because you go Old and New Testament. You think that Old Testament's real, the New Testament's real. It's one testament. He came to be the bridge and the gap, so there wouldn't be any need for old or new. Okay, so he says, behold, I will send my messenger, that's Yahshua, and he shall prepare excuse me, I'm actually getting out of pocket, excuse me. This is about Yahshua HaMashiach. I said it wrong. This is about John the Baptist, who's going to be the messenger to prepare the way for Yahshua HaMashiach. Excuse me, I apologize, sorry, right? Let me say that again so I can correct myself. This is about the messenger, John the Baptist, who's going to prepare the way for Yahshua HaMashiach. If you're going to be a messenger of the most, that's what I meant earlier. Praise Yah. Okay, thank you, Holy Spirit, for the correction. If you're going to be a messenger in these days and times, be ready to prepare the way so that Yahshua HaMashiach can come down, just like the manna of heaven rain down unto us. You're going to see the rain in the land in a little bit. Here we go. So behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Yehovah, whom ye seek, or really in this case, and Adon, whom ye seek, who will be what? The manifestation of Abba. Right? So did they start seeking? So people who say Messiah, this and that, or whatever, yes, Yohanan or John the Baptist, Jean the Baptiste, and all that, right? They're cousins, yes. So watch this. We've been seeking the Messiah since Genesis chapter 3. Since Barashat, Gimel, we've been seeking the Messiah, Mashiach, since Genesis chapter 3. This is not a new thing. Stop telling me this is a New Testament. We've been seeking him. How is something going to be new? And he's part of Barashat, which is what Genesis was actually called. Barashat is 6 characters long. It literally means the son who comes out the right family, who's one with the Father, becomes our head by being destroyed, by being led by the Holy Spirit to the cross. That's the first word of the Bible, and that's what the first book of the Bible is, or the first Savad, the first scroll of the Bible is actually called. You hear what I'm saying? That's what the first. So how in the world is him showing up a new thing where we had to have a New Testament when all he did was obey the law that was there before you guys even think law exists? Because some of y'all don't think law exists until Exodus chapter 20, but law existed whenever Yahweh opened up his mouth. Anything that a king decrees, it must be established. Telling people about a New Testament. That's when we know you don't know about law. You don't want to know about law, but you can't have a new Christ when the first character of the entire Bible is dealing with the Christ. But you don't know Aleph Bet. You don't know how to read Psalm 119 verses 9 through 16 to know what Bet means, which means it's the son who comes out the right family. Therefore, you talking a great talk, but you can't have a great walk because you have no great culture to make sure that the walk is correct. So you can't walk it like you talking, right? You can't do none of that because you don't comprehend what's going on. Anyways, behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Adon, or Yehovah, or really in this case, Yahshua, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. Where was John the Baptist's temple? Do you not know that your temple? Do you not know that you are the temple of the Most High? See, right? Do you not know you are the temple? Where did John meet Yahshua first? In the flesh. See, y'all think y'all first miracle is turning water to wine. Where was the first place? Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. How you doing, bro, Mac? Where was the first place that Yohanan or John the Baptist met Yahshua HaMashiach? Where was it? In the flesh, in the physical realm. Where was the first place they met up? Come on, somebody. Where was the first place they met? It was not in the river. It was in the mother's belly. The temple that John was in was the first place that he met Yahshua HaMashiach. Come on, somebody. He met her in, by the way, it's not Elizabeth. That's not her actual name. That's how y'all say it now because people didn't know how to speak what we speak. So they remixed it. Her name is actually Al, as in short for El or Elohim or Alacham. Her name is Al Shabbat. Al Shabbat. Now, if you don't know the culture, it sounds like you can even hear a little bit of Elizabeth or Elizabeth, but it's Al Shabbat, which means that it's Elohim's rest. So inside of Elohim's rest, that was where John the Baptist was born. And while he was in there, they feared that he was dead and thought he was a stillborn. And it was not until Miriam, the temple that Yahshua was in, the wombed man, this wombed spirit, came up against Al Shabbat, the wombed man, the wombed spirit, the temple, and both of them met inside the temple. And when they met in the temple, John leapt for joy. And that's when Elizabeth said, I don't know what's in you, Barry, but whatever's in you was blessed among everybody that I've ever met because he was dead inside me, but he leapt for joy. Come on now. Amen, baby. Come on now, right? They met in the temple. And here it tells you specifically, behold, I will send. We're back in Malachi chapter 3. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Yahshua, whom ye seek, the Lord, Adon, whom you seek, Yahweh, who's going to be manifested in Yahshua, whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. Who is his temple? The messenger's temple. He was inside his mama. And later on, his temple outside was going to be where he baptized folk. And then here comes Yahshua again. He recognized him because he met him in one temple. They had a service there. He met him in another temple. They had the same service. And even though they hadn't seen each other since they were inside the womb, they knew each other. Oh, see, this is, you wanted to reign in your life. It's got to be something. Let's be obedient to this reign. Let's show it up. Even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith Yahweh of hosts, Adon of hosts. The messenger is coming. Yahshua is coming. They knew he was coming. This ain't no new thing. They've been waiting for this forever. How you doing, Nathaniel? Thanks for being on. Right? They knew who was coming. They knew the tribe he was coming from. They knew who the mother was going to have to be adopted into. Stop trying to make this thing harder than what it is. No wonder it's dried up in our land. No wonder that we can't get anything to happen. No wonder we can't see any seeds sown. No matter we're not seeing anything because we're not sitting. Thank you, Sister Nadine. Appreciate you, right? Amen, Sister Monica. Let's get this, right? So verse 2. But who may abide the day of his coming? Who's going to be able to live in the day of his coming? Who shall abide in the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? Who shall be able to stand in front of him when he shows up? Not everybody. And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap. You can't just stand in front of him. If you ain't right, you're going to burn. If you're not ready for him, you're going to burn. He's like a refiner's fire. If you're not clean, you're going to be cleaned up to where you're not there anymore. If you're so dirty, all your body going to get cleaned up because to be clean is to be lawful. To be clean is to be legal. Remember, even in the Greek, the word clean or even sound doctrine, to be clean, it means to be hygienikos, to be hygienic. You're not clean enough for this. Y'all don't want to hear that because you don't like law. You don't like principles. You don't like connection. You don't like value in this stuff. You don't want somebody to tell you the truth, but that's reality. That's real. That's real talk. That's what your Bible says. It's demanded of you. It's commanded of you. It's commanded of us to love and to live and to love your enemy and to love the word and to love Yahshua and to be of Yahshua and to be grafted into Yahshua and to know the laws and to know the ways and to know the statutes and not to know false statutes or false precepts, but to come out of real set precepts to lead to actual steps to give you proper concepts. It is demanded. It says it's the refiner's fire. You know, in order for you to be pure gold, at least what you consider pure gold, because gold in the dirt is the way gold is. But when you think of pure gold, they have to say pure gold because you think pure gold is not supposed to have any dirt. You'll think that a nugget that you find is not really worth a nugget that once has been burned away and got all the dirt out. But when they say pure, they're not saying that it's necessarily better. They're saying that it only has gold in it. They're saying it only has gold in it. You can't be a follower of the way and have 7,000 ways in it because it only can have one way. I am the way. Yahshua said, the messenger says that we just learned about. I am the way and the truth and the life. He that comes before the Father, you got to come through me. Why? Because I'm coming with the refiner's fire. I'm going to be the one to try you out. Whatever I do, you have to do the same thing. If I carry the cross, you got to carry the cross. If I follow the law, you got to follow the law. If I spoke Hebrew, you should probably learn how to speak Hebrew. If I kept the commandments, you should probably keep the commandments. Why? Because John 14 or 15 rather says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. If he's the door, guess what? You got to be the door. If he entered into rest, you got to enter into rest. If he's going to be resurrected, you're going to have to be resurrected. If he had to resurrect the people, you're going to have to resurrect the people. You don't want to hear this. This is a word right here. He's coming with the refiner's fire. He got to try you out. He got to see if you can burn without being burned up. He got to see if you can be a bush that is burned but is not consumed. If you're a bush that people can eat fruit from, but at the same time you burn and you're not consumed. It don't make sense that I can eat from something that's burning, but somehow, some way it doesn't get consumed. And when people are around you, they should feel a certain way. Why I always got to be around you and not cussing? Why I always got to be around you and not fussing? Why I always got to be around you and hear about the word? Why do I always have to be around you and take off my shoes, for this is holy ground? Why do I feel like I always got to take my shoes off because this is holy ground? Because if it's required of us to get into the Most High's presence and we live in the Most High's presence, then it's required for you to be in our presence. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. If I go into the world, I know I'm gonna see some worldly stuff, and I'm not okay with it, but I have to deal with it. Well, if you're gonna come into the kingdom, then guess what? You're gonna see some kingdom stuff. And you might not be okay with it, but you're going to have to deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, you can't deal with me and you can't deal with my people. Why is it wrong for you to have to make sure that you treat my house with respect, my family with respect? But then when I go to your store, I can't make sure that I just go in there and I spit on food and I come in there and I make sure that I wipe my hand on everything and I come in there and I steal your stuff. I can't do that. That's not correct. But we say do it for the kingdom, and everybody says you guys are asking for too much. Now, I'm not saying be a Bible thumping person that be hitting people upside the head with the word where it hurts, but I'm saying at bare minimum, we should make sure that we have something that's for us. We have a standard that we understand. We don't understand your stuff. We comprehend your stuff, but we don't understand it. But when it comes to the kingdom, we understand and we stand on principle, and we will not leave this place because the Most High Yahweh has rained down this knowledge upon us, and we eat of the manna, and we eat of the manna every day because we're not supposed to take any more than what we need in the day. So I'm not trying to take any more off you than what I need today. Let me leave that alone. Amen, Holy Spirit. Come on now. Come on, somebody. Right? So now, verse 3, and he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi. He coming for Levi. He coming for the preachers. Why do you see so many preachers all over the place? Some of you think it's just simply because these preachers are out here bad. No, he got to clean us up. He got to point out the fact that you've been cheating on your wife. He's got to do it. He can't have it. The time is not. It's almost time for this to end. He can't sit up there and have wild preachers out here who are not cleaned up. He had to clean me up, get some wild stuff out of me so that I could then be able to talk to people about marriage. Because if my marriage ain't clean, how in the world am I going to help yours? He had to make sure that I could become sovereign and not have to worry about a bunch of this junk. Because if I got to worry about the junk that everybody else got to worry about, how can I make sure that I can help people to be purified? He got to deal with the people who are speaking this. Be careful those who are saying that you speak the word of Yah, because here comes the test. Have you considered my servant Job? Be careful now. I'm in the kingdom. I want Yah to bless me. I want him to give me all the rich. Have you considered my servant Job? Have you considered Yah? What his family's going? Have you seen how he's always praying for his children, even though they ain't even, just in case they might sin? It's not even his sin that he's putting offerings up for, but he's giving offering. Have you considered them? See, don't ask for the money, because he's gonna have to see. Have you considered them when it comes time to tithe? Have you seen what they do when they give? Have you seen how they operate? Have you seen how they spend money to help their community? Have you considered them? He's not gonna give you money just because you're supposed to be rich. He's gonna give you money because you're supposed to use your wealth to cause others to be wealthy. Be careful what you ask for. Here come the test. I want to be rich. Let me see if you're ready for it. I want to be married. Okay, let's see. Can you handle an argument? I want the job. Okay, Can you handle what comes with it? Everybody and their mama want to give a word and want to preach and want to do all this stuff. If I was look, I used to do the same thing. If I was the pastor, if I was the preacher, I would say this. If I was the person, I would do this. I would do it like this. I would do it like that. If somebody did this to me, blah blah, this is how I would do. It sounds great. I promise you, up until you get into it, and you're like, ooh. There's a lot of times I don't want this. I love it, but sometimes I don't like it. I'm not commanded to like it. I'm commanded to love it. There's times I don't love this. Yeah, right. Want to be married. You don't even know what a wife or a husband is, but you want it. Then you get real problems and you go, oh, I don't know if I want this. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and leave. No, you want this. It's time to refine it. Especially if you want a marriage that's like your husband wants you to be, because you're supposed to ultimately be married to him. So if you can't be married to somebody you see every day, right? How in the world are you going to be married to somebody that you just got to have faith in? Yeah, I'm telling you, I did not, that part right there, right? That part right there, as far as being accountable, I can't tell you how long I was supposed to say I've been called to preach, and I would not. I would be sitting on my hands like I'm doing now. I have them behind my back, and I have them under myself, and I would be like this. Like when they say at the end, does anybody have something to say? Because I knew as far as the tradition, you were supposed to get up at that point and say, hey, I've been called to preach. I was scared. I was scared and still was scared. When people would say to me, I had a guy who was on drugs who used to be like the man in high school, and I've met him as we were adults, and he wanted to fight me. And he kept saying, you don't know who I am. And I could not tell who he was. And finally, he was like, man, this is me, brother. I won't say his name, but it's me, brother, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you now. Basketball, yada, yada. He was like, yeah, man. Yeah, I've been going through some rough times. He was like, but I don't know. Something about just your spirit and listening to you and the way you're dealing with me and stuff like that. People don't even give me time of day. I think I'm supposed to follow you, man. And I was like, like he said that, right? May I be honest with y'all? My wife gave me a compliment yesterday. And I was a little afraid of the way she said it, but then I prayed about it and I was like, yeah. She said, right, my wife gave me an excellent compliment. And I was sitting there because I was like, yeah, coming on and this and that, and they trying to mess with TikTok. And TikTok is having all these issues now. So obviously they're trying their best to make sure we can't get this message out there. And this is going, but I'm not worried about it that much. I'm gonna just keep doing what I do. And she said, and I was like, maybe I should contact TikTok. Maybe I should get the TikTok legal, yada, yada, yada. She goes, well, there's some people that are depending on what you are, and you might be like the most normalcy some people get. And I said, ooh, don't say it like that. I said, oh, don't say it like that, because it's scary. Can I be honest with you? I know some people want to act like they have no fear of nothing, and they're just, no, like I had a second where I was like I know, I knew what she was saying, but I wasn't really as intimate until like she said it that way. I was like, but after I did some musas and some breath, right, took some breaths, I said, okay, I get it, right? I can't just not be in position. So it's worth defending, right? It's worth like defending this if that's who you are, and you don't recognize it. Some of you have been called to be able to do that. You're being tried in the fire to see if you're worthy of the vocation. Some of you are ready to be able to help out millions of people and don't even recognize it because you think that you're being tested and you can't hold through the test. But we're supposed to be tested. Praise Yah. Praise Yah for the honorable mind. Watch this. Now, so it says, he came, shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering of righteousness. Why? Because the Levite doesn't have a job. He's not supposed to work in the field. He's not even supposed to have land that's his own. So any land that he's given is supposed to be given from the community. Because the Levite is only focus is supposed to do what? To prepare you so that you can see Yahshua for yourself. You can see the one where, right? Like John the Baptist, he prepared the way to make it straight. We're supposed to prepare the way to make it straight so that you can just go down a straight path. That's it. That's it. That's why we are assemblers. Kohelet is an assembler. A pastor just means that I'm somebody who goes and leads sheep down great pastures. And to be a pastor, you're supposed to be even Shemitic. You're supposed to be about the culture. That's it. Right? I'm not supposed to have anything where I work in the field. That's the problem. We said this over and over again. A lot of problems with a lot of your pastors is not that they don't want to do well, it's that they can't do well because they're working harder than you. They got 7,000 jobs, right? And you only got one. They're supposed to do everything in the assembly. They're supposed to do everything. They're supposed to do all the research, all the studying, make all the decisions, do all this stuff. And then when they mess up finally, you say, see, but they're not supposed to do all that. Their whole job is supposed to prepare the way. You want them to have 7,000 wives, thinking that's a great thing. They need to learn how to love one wife because they're supposed to love one Yahweh. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Because their only offering, it says, is supposed to be one of right lawful standing. The Levite is required to give a tithe too. And I'm not saying that I don't tithe, I tithe. But hear what I'm saying. The Levite is required to give a tithe as well. And their tithe is supposed to be righteousness, right lawful standing. That's what it says. Let's keep on going. Then shall the offerings of Judah, so the Levitical priesthood, the preaching got to be on point. And then what? Shall the offering of Judah, that's praise. The offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto the Lord, as in the days of old and in the former years. So this ain't changed. This ain't changed. This ain't going nowhere. This ain't new. The days of Judah. So first it's Levitical priesthood. The preaching got to be correct. Then the praise can be correct. They honor me with, they praise me with their lips, and they honor me with their their mouths, but their love, their hearts are far from me. I need your heart before I can make it rain. How you doing, Minister Shante? I need your heart before I can make it rain. I need your passion. I need the preaching. I need the proclamations. I need the olive bites. I need the priest to be in position correctly first. The problem is you got a bunch of preachers that aren't in position, preaching to people who are trying to get in position. I need the heart of Yahshua. Our high priest is Yahshua HaMashiach. The priest got to be right before you can talk about sacrifice. So once the Levite, the Levitical priesthood, the preaching is in order, now here comes Judah. Verse 5. So we're in Malachi chapter 3. So verse 5. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers. I need the preachers to be in order, because when I come, I'm looking for sorcerers. Doesn't it say a witch shall be put to death? Hallelujah, Sister Barbara. Doesn't this say a witch shall be put to death? Doesn't this tell us a witch shall be put to death? I'm coming for the sorcerers. A witch is somebody who controls you. I'm coming to put to death anything that is sorcery, any kind of witchcraft, anything. Sorcery is taken away from the source, from the Father. Anything that you're trying to put up. Yahshua said in Matthew chapter 13 or Matthew chapter 15, I think it's Matthew 15, any tree that is planted that is not of my Father must be plucked up by the roots. He came against the sorcerers and against the adulterers. He's coming for witchcraft. And then he's coming for anybody who's out here cheating. Not just cheating on your husband and your wife. That's bad enough. That's terrible. That's awful. But you're cheating against the Most High. You know how you felt when somebody cheated on you? You're cheating on the Most High. Stop it. Yahweh gives law. My husband gives out law, but I don't believe in the law. So you cheat with the lawless one, out here flirting and then getting mad. You serve a jealous Elohim. You say you serve a jealous God, but here you are making him jealous, flirtatious with everything and everybody else. Mad at him. Why are you so jealous? Why wouldn't he be? But see, you don't know how to treat your husband. Because if you think that your husband's supposed to be doing what Yahweh does towards the assembly, or what Yahshua does towards the assembly, then why would your husband not get jealous? I'm not saying he should just be jealous because you woke up and you decided to put on a dress and walk around the house in some makeup, and he ain't like the fact you some makeup, but he popped you. Right? I'm not saying all that. But I am saying that if he sees you doing something that's going to affect his family, he should probably speak up and say, I don't like that. He should have the respect, because he's doing what? Providing security and affection. If he gives you security and affection, he should be able to say, I don't like that. But see, we have an adulterous spirit. And the same way it happens in our houses, it happens with the Most High. So he says, I'm coming for sorcerers, witches, and I'm coming against adulterers, and I'm coming against false swearers. Remember, there's a scripture, don't swear. Matter of fact, this is on the Sermon on the Mount. Don't swear by the grave. Don't swear on your mama's grave and all that. Don't swear on this person, or don't swear on the Most High, or don't swear on this. Let your yea mean yea, your nay mean nay. When you got people that always got to swear on something, leave that alone. Leave that alone. And against those that oppress the hireling in wages. And those that oppress the hirelings, people that won't even pay people the right thing. Yahweh says, I'm coming for you. Wait a minute. Yeah, the boss. The people that are sitting up there and saying, we're going to make sure you pay minimum wage, and we're not going to raise minimum wage for 20, 30 years. Yahweh says, I'm coming for you. Those of you who said that somebody should work in your family and work for y'all and slave for y'all and toil for you, but you won't sow anything back into you. Yahweh said, I'm coming for you. Come on, right? I'll go ahead and I'll tithe the Budweiser, and I'll tithe the McDonald's, and I'll tithe to bless the children and feed the children and do this and do that, even though they don't even necessarily feed the children. But I'll tithe to everybody else. But then so-and-so is doing something, and I'll say, I'm not going to give a tithe. I'm not even saying you got to give it to me, whoever you tithe to, whoever you led to, right? But you don't tithe. And then you say, I want a blessing from it or whatever, and oppress people. But you want Pastor so-and-so, you want Bishop so-and-so, you want Apostle so-and-so, you want Overseer so-and-so, you want musician so-and-so to go to 17 rehearsals with all these different groups throughout the whole month and make sure they're doing all this stuff, spend time away from their family, have an extra job, do all that stuff on top of it. And then maybe y'all put a collection together and say, here's, $10. We can't afford to pay you, but here's the best we could do. Or you don't even want to tithe to make sure that y'all are all coming to the same place. Like, why are you tithing to this church and to that church and to that church and to that church? If it's all one, then it should go to all go to one pot. That's why your communities can't do anything, because you are segregated in your own community. Apostolic Church don't do nothing with the Baptists, and the Baptists don't do nothing with the Kojic, and the Kojic don't do nothing with the AME, and the AME don't do nothing with the Methodists, and the Methodists that sure ain't gonna do nothing with the Southern Baptists. The Southern Baptists, we can't even mess around with the Free Will Baptists. The Free Will Baptists, we don't mess around with First Baptists, and First Baptists, even though it comes out of Second Baptists and Third Baptists don't really mess with First Baptists. Like, that's where we are. There's not even a place that's ours. There's not one place. There's not one source, but our Father is one, Allah, who art in heaven. He wants us to be one, and hallowed be his name, and his kingdom should come, his oneness should come, and his will should be done on earth the same way as done in heaven. So he's coming against those who oppress the hirelings' wages, telling everybody pay taxes, taking away 50%, 60%, 70% of what somebody makes in a year. He's coming for you, right? The ones who oppress the widow. This is what the tithe is supposed to be for. The tithe is supposed to be for the Levites, for the widows, for the orphan, for the poor, and for the stranger. But you took away the wages. You oppressed the hireling with the wages, and you oppressed the widow, and you oppressed the fatherless, and they that turn aside. You turn aside the stranger. He's coming for you. You don't take care of the widows. First of all, if a widow's in your family, you should take care of them. But if you can't take care of them, then we should take care of them. And if you don't, he's coming for us. So we'll make sure we take care of him. And if you're dealing with an orphan, a fatherless, the family should take care of him. But if you won't take care of him, we got you. Because he ain't going to come for us. Not in that manner. He's going to come for us in a positive manner, not negative. Right? I should, Sister Tracy, right? You see, he's coming for you. And everybody thinks it's okay. It seems cool and everything until he's coming for you. That's why everybody get wild on their deathbed, don't they? You got all this peace, and all of a sudden you got to start getting sick, and you start, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need to get myself together. Why? Because you know you ain't got it. He's coming for you. Right? He said, even try to turn away the stranger, the person that's not part of your people. If they're coming in for the right motives, then still you make sure that you take care of them. And fear not me, and don't respect the Most High. Those that have no respect. I don't know for sure if not Darren Hamlin, the guy in Buffalo, he had that weird hit that happened to him, and then he was able to come back, and he came, and everybody was making, and I looked at the jacket. I didn't really realize it, but my wife hit me to the fact that everybody was really talking about his jacket, and I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, it is kind of iffy. Like that's not a random thing. Like his jacket is kind of warped, it's kind of jacked up. Yeah, I had to admit, like, yeah, that's a smack in the face of the Most High. He coming for him. You got to change. You don't respect him. He's coming for you. The whole Hamlin, thank you. Whole country prayed for him. And then he takes the cross and did what he did with it. I mean, I got the tithe and does what he does. I mean, I got to keep it a buck. Not the greatest of looks, Brother Darren. You still got a chance. Or Brother Damar. You still got a chance, though. Turn it around. Repent. And fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts, or Adon of hosts, or Lord of hosts. Why? Verse 6, for I, the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob, are not consumed. What did we just say earlier? You'll be like a bush. If you came in front of a bush that was burning but was not consumed, then you're going to get tried to see if you're burning but won't get consumed. You said in biblical times, wives depended solely on their husband's income. Once widowed, they had nothing. Not 100% accurate, but there was a lot of wives that did that, just like there's a lot of wives that do that today. But that's not 100% accurate. There were many women that were business owners. They were allowed to be so even when they were single women and stayed in their father's homes. And there were a lot of wives that made more money than the husbands. But, not every single one. Matter of fact, look at the Proverbs 31 woman, right? And you'll see that she's somebody that had a lot of great business dealings. So to a certain degree, but, the choice, our sisters would have the choice of whether or not they want to do that or not. They don't have to. They shouldn't have to work, right? They should be able to help multiply. And so that's work within itself. But if they want to do extra, husbands should be able to support them in that as well. So it's not exactly like they were 100% have to be on them, right? But it depends, so we, but I know how we do it in our society today, right? So verse 7, even from the days of your fathers. Now watch this. It's about to talk about law. Right? Right? This is verse 7. It's talking about law. You ready? Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinances. Ordinances, law. And you have not kept them. Even from the days of your fathers. Even from the days of your fathers. You have gone away from what? From your ordinances, your laws, right? How do you get ordained to be a preacher? How do you become an ordained, right? Right? We usually licensed ministers, and then we ordained licensed ministers, right? How do you become an ordained minister or a reverend or an elder or a pastor, whatever your position is? How do you become ordained, but you don't follow ordinances? How do you become ordained, but you don't follow ordinances? Ordinances are laws. How do you become ordained and you don't follow ordinances? You can't technically even be ordained the way churches do it nowadays. You can't even be ordained unless you ask the state permission for your ordinance. So if you do somebody's wedding ceremony and you're going to go through the state, you don't have to. But a lot of you are going to go through the state. If you do somebody's wedding ceremony and you go through the state, well, that person through the state has to be what? That person through the state is going to have to be what? They're going to have to be ordained by the state. It's a law. If you do your own private ceremony, then you can have whoever is ordained in what you deem in your private religiosity to do what they do. Right? So I'm just keeping 100 with you. If you're looking for Pastor Kofi, and I marry people and stuff too, right? But if you're looking for me to be part of your wedding, we're going to put together a private contract for you and your spouse. And I'll be third party to see it. We're going to have a bunch of affidavits so that others can see it. My wife is probably going to sign up on it too and stuff as well. And we're going to have it that way. You know why? Because I don't do public stuff. So if you want to have the state acknowledge it, then I'll do the ceremony, but you're going to have to go ahead and before we do the private ceremony or have me come on the private sector, you're going to have to take care of that in the public before we get to do this and walk down the aisle. Right? I'm just, because I don't do it. I don't do it anymore. Right? I never really did it in all honesty. I don't think I've done one. No. Yeah. I actually, even though I didn't do it on purpose, I've never really actually done a public ceremony. Right? And I never will. Praise God. Right? But even for the days of your fathers, you've gone away from your ordinances. Let me go through because I actually got to get ready to call somebody soon. So you are gone away from mine ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, now watch this. There's a conversation going on. We missed this. He said, return unto me, and I will return unto you. But ye said, not I said. This is what y'all said, Israel. Y'all said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob Elohim? That's what y'all said. You think that Elohim said that God said, will a man rob God? No, you said, where shall we return? Can you rob Elohim of anything? Anything that's called, can you rob anything from Elohim? Right? That's what you said. But Elohim said, yet ye have robbed me. Then we said what? Then Israel said what? Then the people who say they're followers of the way said what? But ye say, wherein have we, but ye say, but you said what? Wherein have we robbed thee? His answer is in tithes and offering. How you doing, old Mexican? What? Y'all saw that? Y'all peep game? That's what he said. I'm not saying you got to go and rush and give SOC, blah, blah, boom, 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 whatever, right? Because you can tie more than just finances. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. The first time, thank you, Big Zoe. Appreciate you. And thanks for being part of the community, right? I'm just here to tell you, you said it's impossible to rob him. He said, you have robbed me. You said, well, how can we rob you? You got everything. He said, in tithes and offering. Because if I'm a king, I deserve tribute. That's the way it works. You said you register, then they'll have a security interest and they can interfere, give benefits like child support and all that. Of course, yeah. That's why you should have your own contract. That way, husband or wife, you don't have to worry about no mess and y'all can write out everything, right? But you robbed him, he said. Right? So since you robbed him in tithes and offering, this is what verse 9 says. He said, you are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, this whole nation. Now, here's the part that you might miss in that. Whenever we were in disarray as far as we didn't receive rain, that's why I was talking about the rain came down. That's why I say I'm going to be obedient to what I was hearing through the Holy Spirit. Whenever we were disobedient, there was no rain. Not just for a little bit. I'm talking about it would get dry. Nothing could grow. You could tell if disobedience was in Israel because nothing could grow for the nation. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Right. We were disobedient, so nothing could grow. Disobedience stunts growth. So we could tell we were disobedient when there was no growth. And we were so busy still trying to be like, well, how could we rob you? We knew we had done something because there was no growth. Just like it is in Israel now. Israel is like a desolate place to live, isn't it? Interestingly enough, we used to have a lot of food and a lot of different growth and a lot of different things growing that don't seem to grow there anymore. Interestingly enough, that's a great point, Sister Monica. You said you offer time to minister to people and you've cooked food. Yeah, of course. Like we said, tithe can be time, talent, effort, energy, but really a tenth of everything you get belongs to him. But it gets a point where you get there, right? Once again, a lot of us in the land of our captivity and we're afraid to break out. And so there's a lot of things that it's going to be hard to move. So verse 10, bring ye all the tithes. How do you stop the curse? How do you stop the dry land? How do you stop these things? Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith Adon of hosts, Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, that there shall be not, or so, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Prove me, he says. He said, test me out, see if I'm telling the truth. If you want more growth, then bring me the tithes. If you want it to rain, then bring me the tithes. He said, prove it. He said, prove it. Bring it to me and see if the rain doesn't flow. He said, prove it. Prove it. How do you prove it? Bring it in. Bring in what you have and give a tribute. Bring it in and bring a tribute that it might rain. He said, prove me. You keep saying it can't happen. I don't know if it would happen. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. I don't know if this would really happen. Prove it. I told you if you do it, watch something happen. I told you if you give, it shall be given unto thee my measure. That's what good, Elohim like measure, constitutional measure. Elohim's measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For the same measure that you meet, shall it be given unto thee. Said, prove it. Amen. Try me and see. Test me. Try me. Try me and see. Test me. Put me on trial. That's what you're doing. When you give your time to the Most High, you're putting him on trial. Will this be for nothing, y'all? When he says, like we talked about yesterday, walk around. Come on, somebody. Walk around this place. Walk around. Walk around it. Walk around it and see what happens. How many times I got to walk around till I tell you to stop? How about this? Walk around it 6 times and be silent. Then on the 7th day, walk around it 6 times again. And on the 7th time, when you walk around on the 7th day, then start screaming out and see if the walls of Jericho don't come down. Stop talking to me and trying to see. I told you to walk. Walk in obedience. I don't need you to speak it. I don't need you to preach it. I don't need you to tell everybody and their mama about it. I don't need you to make sure that everybody and their mama knows this thing, because it's not for everybody. It's for Israel. Walk around like I told you to and see if it doesn't fall down. See if it won't rain. See if I won't open the windows of heaven. By the way, it's the same window that the choir, what you call the firmament. It's the same with the choir that he opened up. Same with the choir that opened up for the first time when it rained down, and those who were in the ark were protected, because it wasn't rain that was to provide for everybody. Matter of fact, some of the people it provided a way of escape for. Some people it provided destruction for. Which one shall you be on the side of? He says, try me to see if I'll open up the window of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you have room not to receive. Verse 11, and I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. Because there are people trying to come. There's locusts trying to come. There's people trying to come and eat up what it is that's promised to you, trying to take your crop from you. But I've already promised you that I'll protect you from them. I already promised you that I would make it rain. I already promised you. So I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, for your reputation, and he shall not destroy the fruits of the ground. See, that's what we're talking about. The rain is coming, and then when I give you what's there, the rain and the seed is there, he won't be able to destroy what grows. Neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts, and all nations shall call you blessed. For ye shall be a delightsome land. All nations shall call you blessed. It says that about certain people in the Bible, right? That's what we just talked about with Mariam or Mary. When Elizabeth hugged her, she said, you got to be blessed. All nations hugged up on you. All these people trying to come against you, they're going to have to call you blessed. They're going to have to honor where you are. They're going to have to be obedient to this word. They're going to have to do what Revelation chapter 3, verse 7 through 9 says, where it says, you, Israel, that you shall be the people that people will come and learn from and sit at their feet, and they shall learn how to worship. And Yahweh is going to show the world that he's always loved you. I'm just reading the Bible. Revelation 7 says they can be grafted in. Romans chapter 11 says they can be grafted. I got to mention that because some of y'all try to say that I'm being racist or something, and I'm not. Verse 13, your words have been stout against me, saith Yahweh. You've been speaking some trash. Yet ye say, what have we spoken so much against thee? We ain't spoken nothing. Verse 14, ye have said, it is vain to serve Elohim. It's empty. And what profit? What profit is it that we have kept his ordinance, his law? They don't mean nothing to keep his law. And that we have walked mournfully before the Lord of hosts. We always crying out, but we don't talk about obeying his law. You said you're Phoenician, so you don't really care. No problem. Well, an actual Phoenician is somebody who would have said that they were what? Phoenician. So a Punic person would have been somebody Carthaginian. Carthaginian would have said that they were Canaanite. The Canaanite would have been mixed with Israel. An Israelite would have been somebody who would have been Cush. A Cushitic person would have been somebody who was Kemetic. A Kemetic person would have been somebody who was Avda person, or Abra person would have been somebody who was known as person on the other side. So therefore you mixed with West African. So whether you care about it or not, you probably should if you're actually Phoenician. And you would be my cousin. You would be my brother. Rather than saying you don't care about what your brother has to say. But appreciate you, right? And that's why you got to know this for yourself, right? You got to know this for yourself. You can't let somebody who doesn't even know themselves, so they say, or know you, so they say, have anything that they said, right? Okay, maybe that's not what you meant. Okay, my bad. When you say you're Phoenician, you don't care. You meant you were actually Phoenician, so that means that you're part of what we are, or what we're doing. I don't know. Either way, though, right? We'll try to get that squared away. But either way, like we said, you got to be in a position where you realize, right, that you're dealing with those things. You know, you got to be in a position when you realize what you're dealing with those things. So your words have been against me, saith Yahweh. Yet ye say, what we have spoken so much against it. Ye have said, it's vain to serve Elohim, and what profit is it that we have kept his ordinance, and that we have walked mournfully before Yahweh of hosts, or Adon of hosts. And now we call the proud happy. Yea, even they that work wickedness are set up. Yea, even they that tempt Elohim are even delivered. That's what people say. If you go against the Most High, you're better. You'll be delivered from this wicked Bible. Because that's how they enslave you, because they use the Bible. Right? Verse 16, then they that feared Yahweh spake often to another, and Yahweh hearkened and heard it. He listened to him. And a book of remembrance. Remembrance. I will remember you. You were dismembered. You were cut off from your membership, but now you've been remembered. You've been put back in. He remembered us. Remember, there's a book that's going to show up in Revelation, right? If you add anything to the law, it's right to this book, to this law, to this dream, to this vision that the Most High has given John. If you add anything to the book, then the plagues will be added unto you. But if you take anything out of the book, it says that your name will be taken out of the book of life. Okay, so then they that feared Yahweh spoke often to one another, and Yahweh hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance brought them back to themselves, was written before him for them that feared Yahweh, and that thought upon his name, his authority, Yahweh, and they shall be mine. Who? The people who would think on his name, who are in the book of remembrance, and do what? And fear or respect Yahweh himself. It says, verse 17, and they shall be mine, saith Adon of hosts, in the day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Wait a minute. That a man that spares his own son, or a man that spares his own son that serveth him? Ooh, that hurts, because everybody's supposed to be the son of the Most High. But no, there are some creatures, there are some creations. Everybody's a creation, but not everybody's a child. You don't like that? Romans chapter 8, verse 19. That the creature is waiting on the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. Praise y'all. Thank you. We praise y'all for the 100,000. Thank you for your likes and shares and gifts and all that stuff. So verse 18, then shall ye, who? The children. Then shall ye return and discern between the righteous and the wicked. Shall what? Shall ye return? Then shall you all who are in righteousness shall return unto him. Why? Because you'll be able to do what? You'll be able to discern between the righteous, those in right lawful standing, and the wicked, those that don't care about law. Between him that serveth Elohim and him that serveth him not. So the righteous serve Elohim, the wicked serve him not. All right, let's keep on going now. Let's keep on going. It's almost done. It's almost done. Watch this. Verse. So now chapter 4, verse 1. We're gonna get ready to take our leave soon. I'm kind of rushing through it, but I got to make sure that I'm obedient to other stuff I got to do today. Right? Just watch this. So, for behold, the day cometh. This is Malachi chapter 4, verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly, shall be stubble. And the day cometh, shall burn them up, saith Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. They will have no root left. They will not have any branch connected to the tree. Everything's going to be demolished. Everything's going to be burned up. Verse 2, but unto you that fear, that respect my sham, my name, my authority, shall the Son of righteousness arise with healing in his calf, in his wings, and shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. And ye shall tread down the wicked. You shall walk on the wicked. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. Remember earlier, if you can't, we're going to see who's real and who's not, because we're going to try you by the fire. If you burn, right? If you're burned but are not consumed, that's one thing. But if you burn and turn into ashes, that means you're something else. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. What burns them doesn't burn you. In the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. Now watch this. And this is important. Hang on to these last three verses. Malachi chapter 4, verse 4, verse 5, and verse 4, verse 5, and verse 6. Hang on to these three verses. You ready? How you doing, Brian? Hang on to these three verses, right? If you hang on to nothing else I talked about today, hang on to these three verses. You ready? Remember, bring back. Remember, not recall, bring back, come back to. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant. Now, the reason I'm telling you to remember this, I'll just go ahead and say this real quick, and then we'll just close out on these verses. The reason why I'm saying remember this is because a lot of people don't put into context that what's about to happen is after we finish verse 6, there's going to be a 400-year silence. Okay? There's about to be a 400-year silence, and then the next thing we're going to see is Yahshua HaMashiach to restore what we're about to see needs to be restored. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. So remember these verses. There's about to be a 400-year silence where we're not going to hear from the Most High, and we're going to have to go through some wild stuff. We're going to see at that time, I'm talking about not us, even though it's our story again, right, because we keep being disobedient. I'm talking about back then, right before the turn of the first century, okay? What you call the first century, when you deal with talking about zero. This is what's about to happen, right? So peep game. There's about to be 400 years where you need to keep this in your mind so that when you come out of this, you can be in tune with the Messiah that's going to show up in Matthew chapter 1. 400 years silence before Matthew chapter 1 is going to finally bring what we're supposed to get. Pay attention. Malachi chapter 4, verse 4, Malachi chapter 4, verse 5, and Malachi chapter 4, verse 6. This is what it says. Remember, come back to what? Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant. Remember ye the law. Don't forget it. It's about to get quiet. It's about to feel destitute. Don't forget this law. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, For all Yasvel, with the statutes and judgments. Don't forget the law. Don't forget the statutes. Don't forget you'll be judged. Verse 5, behold, pay attention. I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Adon. That's talking about Revelation chapter 10, I believe, maybe Revelation chapter 11. The two olive trees. One of the olive trees is going to be Moses, and one is going to be Elijah. All right. And then verse 6, and he shall turn the heart. This is the most important part right here. You ready? He shall turn the heart, the one that's coming, the one that is coming, the one that's going to show up. Yahshua HaMashiach, one of his big purposes to come was this. He shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers. Here come the rain. Praise Yah. Right? Remember, we were talking about and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers. Lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. We got to get the Levites. We got to get Judah. We got to take care of the Levites and the widows and the orphan and the poor and the stranger. We got to make sure we get back to the law and the word. And we got to make sure that what our fathers did is what the children of Yahshua do today. He's going to return the hearts of the fathers back to the children, and the hearts of the children back to the fathers. Of course, they want to be able to kill off your fathers. Of course, they don't want you to have great spiritual fathers. Of course, they don't want you to have great physical fathers. Of course, they don't want you to think of Abba, Elohim Abba, of as being your father. Why? Because they know that if you ever return back to things being in order, if our sisters don't have to be strong, independent black women, but they can be women who feel secure and feel affection and get the love that's deserved so that they can be nourished too, then they will begin to respect things that are going on. Why? Because the hearts of the fathers, in order to be in tune with the children, have to be in tune with the wives, which means that if we return the hearts of the fathers to the children, the wives have to be taken care of. If the wives are taken care of, they'll take care of the children. If the wives are taken care of, they'll take care of the things in the house. If the wives are taken care of, they'll take care of things in the business. If the wives are taken care of, they'll give you the respect that you want. If you return the hearts of the fathers to the children, and then have the children look up to their fathers rather than look down upon them, then we get to a place to where we are in accordance. And now here comes Yahshua in our lives. Now here he comes in Matthew. But you got to have all that together. Praise Yah. We thank the Most High for this word. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. We still having issues. I can't share my screen yet. I can't share pictures behind me anymore. They've gotten rid of that feature, it seems. So I will have something very soon. I don't know if I'll just show you guys what's on the screen on my MacBook, and you guys can see pictures there the way we used to. I don't know if we'll set it up where I'll just try to print out some really big pictures and make sure they're laminated or something, and that way I can hold stuff up so y'all can see it. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we'll figure something out pretty soon. Hopefully we'll get, they'll allow us to start using the video game version of the live session, so we can share the screen and y'all can see the pictures as we close out. But let me just give some quick announcements real quick. If you haven't received it, please look out for it. You should get something today with the newsletter for February. And it's my fault. Y'all should have got it a couple days ago. So it's my fault if you haven't gotten it yet. But we should be able to try and make sure that you guys receive the newsletter very soon. If I can just pull up something real quick. I will, as a reminder, I'll be on tonight and I will be on tomorrow in the Rising. So I will be on tonight. I will be on tomorrow in the Rising. I will not be able to make it for tomorrow evening, but I will be on tomorrow for those who want to come back. We're on every day at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time, except for Wednesdays, which is normally my day off. But tomorrow I will be back on as a replacement. So I'll be on, and we look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow. Let's see, there's something else. Also too, those just for this Saturday, right? So we have other states and stuff coming up soon, but just for this Saturday, and we praise y'all for everybody from Georgia and the Carolinas that came on the Zoom meeting last week, and everybody who was on from Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Kansas last week. We praise y'all for you guys being on the Zoom meeting. We'll have another one coming up for you guys again soon. But for this Saturday coming up, which is going to be February the 25th at 10 a.m. Central, if you're in Texas or Oklahoma, at 10 a.m. Central, we're going to have a Zoom meeting just for you all. Okay, so if you're in Texas or Oklahoma, 10 a.m. Central, that's 11 a.m. Eastern, but at 10 a.m. Central, we'll have a Zoom meeting just for you all. Okay, hallelujah. All right, those who are on at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, New York time, or 11:30 a.m. Central this Saturday coming up, we'll have a Zoom meeting just for you all. So if you're on it, so at 12:30 p.m. Eastern or 11:30 a.m. Central, if you're in Illinois, Michigan, North Dakota, South Dakota, Missouri, Ohio, Wisconsin, or Indiana, we'll have a Zoom meeting just for you all. Once again, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time, or at 11:30 a.m. Central your time. And then for everybody else who's on Pacific time, okay, so there might be a couple people who are Mountain time in this, but I think for those that are in Arizona, those that are in Cali, those that are in Oregon, those that are in Washington State, those that are in Las Vegas, Nevada. And if we have, I don't know if we have anybody in Montana, anything like that, but if you're in that area, we'll make sure that we have a meeting for you guys at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're on Mountain time, that would be 12 p.m. noon Mountain time. And, but at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we'll have a Zoom meeting just for you all. And these are all meetups so that we can start not only getting to know each other, but also eventually trying to get these meetups together, because we want to physically at some point start coming together and making sure that we can do so. Okay. We also have many different things that we do offline. We also have classes. We also have tassels. If you'd like to be able to get tassels, if you'd like to be able to get help out with things we're doing, if you'd like to be able to make sure that you're growing food with us and help us to trade food and things like that. By the way, the last frost is going to be upon us. So if you haven't started already, please start rooting, do different stuff, start sprouting, doing things like that. There's going to be time before you know it where you can start bringing this stuff outside or putting it on your window sills, or even putting little places in some of your rooms in the apartments, whatever, that you can start growing some food, so we can be ready. We have a lot more people who also have land that this year are going to let us be able to grow little things there that we want to make sure we bless them for as well too. So we're continuing to do that, which will help us to continue to gear up for YLP 83, which we got a little meeting, like a mini meeting we're going to have next, not this week, but the week following. And then after that, we'll be able to have a big meeting with everybody else finally to kind of readdress some things that we've had to kind of change up some. But we thank everybody. We appreciate you. And we look forward to certain things that are coming up. So once again, just real quick, if you're in Texas or Oklahoma, 11 a.m. If you're in Texas or Oklahoma at 10 a.m. Central, this Saturday, we'll have a meeting for you, Zoom meeting. And if we have your information, whether your email, your phone number, or your DM, or if we have the ability to DM you on TikTok, we'll make sure we get back to you ASAP. If you are in Illinois, Michigan, North Dakota, South Dakota, Missouri, Ohio, Wisconsin, Indiana, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll be having a meeting just for you all on Zoom. If you are on Pacific time, and including those in Arizona and anybody else who might be on Mountain time, but you're on that side of the country, we'll try to have something for you guys at 11 a.m. Central time on this Saturday, February 25th. Outside of that, once again, please look for the newsletter if you haven't received it already. If you haven't gotten some of these items, if you haven't gotten some of the texts, if you haven't gotten some of the Zoom meeting instructions, etc., feel free to reach out to us and let us know. I thank you guys. Hey, how you doing, Sister Shima? I feel like I didn't say hello. I apologize if I didn't. But thank you all. We appreciate you. We honor you. We look forward to having more and more great learning experiences with you. We've been doing a fasting series. Remember, our fast is still going through intermittent fasting from sun up to sundown, or depending where you are, you might want to go from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're asking for you to not eat any food, so that you might be able to fast. And also, let's be specific. That's why we're doing this series this time during the fasting, right? So let's be specific in what we're looking for from the Most High. Today, we talked about fasting from Rome, and we hope that you guys are continuing to do so. So normally, we would have some stuff that would flash in the background to be able to tell you what's going on. I'm just going to give you a number real quick for myself and for my wife. If you're interested in my wife's information as far as natural medicine and Bloom and Flourish and her business and things that she does to help the diaspora, and anybody who needs help, as far as their health is concerned, please check her out. You can text her at 410-469-1553. Again, that's 410-469-1553. Again, I say 410-469-1553. Last time, that's 410-469-1553. If you'd like to be able to text us, you can text us at SOC at 202-599-7312. Again, that's 202-599-7312. Again, I say 202-599-7312. Last time, that's 202-599-7312. If you'd like to email us, you can email us at kofi082@gmail.com. It's my name, KOFI-OFORI082@gmail.com. Last time, that's KOFI-OFORI082@gmail.com. So I thank you. We're going to go ahead and let a little bit of music play while you guys can see some of the rain still and see it, raining around and hear the rain sounds. We thank you guys. So we'll let that happen on TikTok. To everybody who's on YouTube and TikTok, we appreciate the King, Queen, each and every one of you. And as always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. And so I have the great privilege, opportunity, responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, just love that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, in you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. Hope your fast goes well. If you're on TikTok,